Good morning, everybody. What's going on? Dan Kasper Show's on the air. Happy Wednesday, everybody. March 15th. Appreciate you all tuning in. However, wherever you may be checking in on this fine Wednesday morning, if it's on the radio dials of 105.1 FM, 790 AM, online, sportstalk1051.com. You've got the app, Google and Alexa home devices, the video stream up and rolling. I had it there too. Well, today should be a pretty interesting day, right? Maybe we'll finally know. Sure seems like it's in case you don't have the socials of like Twitter or Facebook or anything like that. Aaron Rodgers is scheduled to appear on his good buddy Pat McAfee show in less than 6 hours from now at noon. So we're all assuming that if we don't know beforehand, which I will say, when Pat announced it on Twitter yesterday, I'm a little surprised yet impressed. Nobody has leaked it or scooped it yet of what the official decision is going to be. But I'm assuming we're going to find out today what finally the decision is going to be for one Aaron Charles Rodgers. Retire, jet it up, run it back. And maybe we could connect some dots because, well, reportedly Allen Lazard agreeing to a contract with the Jets, about $11 million per year if we do the simple division there. Obviously, weird, over there. I know some people have tried to make the argument, well, the Jets would have been in play regardless of the whole Aaron thing because of Nathaniel Hackett and his connection with Allen Lazard. Yeah, maybe, but don't play us like fools either, too, right? You know what I mean? You know what I'm getting at. So, but today, I'm assuming is going to be a very eventful day. That's my guess. That's my educated guess. But why else schedule an appearance on Pat's show? This might be the last time we open up this program with Aaron Rodgers as a starting quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. March 8th, March 4th, 2008 was the day Favre called it a career. And now we might have to put March 15th, 2023, where one Aaron Charles Rodgers might be calling it a career or might be moving on to another franchise. But we'll hit that up. And if you're watching the video stream, yeah, I am rocking my Aaron Charles Rodgers jersey, perhaps for the last time ever. This thing has gone through the ringer. It is, well, it's over 10 years old. So this might be the last time I get to wear it. Thanks for the memories, man. But we'll kind of get into this here in just a little bit and a little bit more depth because I got a couple things I really want to get off my chest about this whole situation. I got a couple things. Well, it'll probably develop into a little bit more than a couple, but there was two things for sure that a little advice I'd like to give to Aaron, but also the Packers themselves for the rest of this offseason. Free agency officially begins today, this afternoon. But as we know from all the legal tampering that has been going on, we know some deals already agreed to and such. So, all right, we'll hit that up coming up in just a little bit on the leadoff. We are one day away from the opening round of. Can we just call it the opening round? I mean, they changed that, right? I mean, no offense to the playing games and that sort of thing, but it all really, we get into the groove starting tomorrow and such. So if if you haven't done the bracket thing, hey, go hit it up. sportstalk1051.com. Okay. Brought to you by our good friends over at Hy-Vee. Win some prizes from Hy-Vee over there. Go. So you got it. You're running out of time. Got to do it. But we'll talk a little college hoops. Badgers picking up a win in the opening round of the NIT for them, 81-62 against Bradley, behind a career night from Stephen Crowell, 36 points for the big man, 5 of 7 from 3, 12 of 16 overall from the field. To which I know a lot of Badger fans are probably saying, where was that throughout the whole season? But nonetheless, an impressive performance from Mr. Steven last night. So Badgers moving on in the NIT tournament. If it sure looked like not a lot of people, and I know Wisconsin fans, Wisconsin students, they're on spring break this week. But you looked at the Kohl Center and little bear. We'll just say a little bear over there. But hey, maybe if they can I don't know, maybe if they put together a little bit of a run here, they'll travel with the team and such. But I don't know. I get it. I totally get it. But yeah. So Badgers will be playing, it sounds like on I saw Sunday, is it? I know we got the boys state tournament, which would make it, obviously a little bit easier for them. So their next game will be coming up this weekend, where they'll be going up against Liberty. It looks like Liberty defeating Villanova, so it'll be Wisconsin going up against Liberty in the second round of the National Invitation Tournament. Speaking of a little bit of college hoops there, Green Bay Phoenix men's basketball team hiring their new head coach, and they're going over to Wyoming. Sundance Wicks is becoming the new head coach for UW Green Bay, the 9th head coach in the program's history. He was an assistant coach at Wyoming over there. So it seems like, I'll be honest with you, I don't know a whole lot about him, but just kind of reading a little bit when it was broke yesterday, seems to be some excitement surrounding that program. So hopefully he can have a lot of success over there. No doubt about it. So, okay. We'll talk some college hoops. Speaking of hoops, though, too, next thing on the good old docket, Bucks. First team in the NBA with their win last night against the Phoenix Suns. First team in the NBA to clinch a playoff spot. They're in, which probably doesn't surprise a whole lot of people, but they are officially in with that win last night. The first team in the NBA to clinch that spot. The first team in the NBA with 50 wins on the season. They are now holding on to a 3-game lead over the Boston Celtics for first place in the Eastern Conference. So taking 2 out of 3 in their little West Coast trip there. Not bad at all. Off day today for the Bucks before taking on the Pacers tomorrow. Then they get a couple more days off. Then they got Toronto. Then a couple more days off. San Antonio there. So with Bucks have, let's see, there 13 more games left in the regular season. Holy moly. Just 13 more. Can they get to 60? I know that doesn't really matter. I just want the first place one. But, can they get to 60 wins? Indiana, Toronto, Saturday. I don't think they'll get to 60. I think there's going to be a couple games in there that'll be, they'd have to go win 10 of their next 13 to get there. There's going to be some of those load management games, right? We're going to see that, especially, if they kind of hold on to that 1 seed with a couple games left in the regular season. If they've clinched that and they still got a couple games left, you're going to get the load management stuff. We know that's going to happen, right? We know that's going to happen. But last night's game, Giannis, again, doing his thing, 36 points, 11 rebounds, just a couple assists away from a triple-double. Brook Lopez, a double-double for him, 21 points, 10 rebounds. James Crowder coming off the bench, putting up 11 along with Bobby Portis. Drew Holiday contributing 12 points. But I know you guys probably talked a little bit about it yesterday with the win against the Kings. I love Brooke Lopez, man. I know last week, last Friday, we were kind of highlighting Brooke Lopez there a little bit. But, obviously with the little scuffle at the end of the Kings game, Brooke Lopez having Giannis's back, Giannis singing Brooke's praises afterwards. I love this team, man. I absolutely love this Bucks team. A cohesive group. They got the talent, but they're a team. We always hear this phrase in sports. It's not necessarily the most talented teams that always win it. Kind of have to have that good mixture. I think the Bucks have the perfect mixture. Talent, chemistry, put it in a bowl, mix it up. They got something cooking right now. I just love this team. I love watching this Bucks team. I love following this team. It's just I hope that they can now get this thing done. Another mission accomplished with another championship when it's all said and done. That'd be awesome. But hey, we'll talk some more Bucks coming up a little bit later on as well. Also on the docket, Brewers. We're getting closer to opening day here. So 2 weeks from tomorrow is going to be opening day. So we got to start to kind of look at a little bit of the rosters and such, and maybe kind of take a look at a couple of players who are making the decision tough on the Brewers with their opening day roster. One of them, Mr. Voit, playing pretty darn well. Brasso playing pretty darn well. Those guys are hitting it in spring training right now. That going to lead to a roster spot for them. So we'll talk a little baseball. We know the World Baseball Classic is continuing right now, but with 2 weeks from tomorrow, 15th, just 15 more days away from opening day, we'll throw a little baseball chat into this thing too. We'll get the second round of Showdown underway. We'll randomly select the 2 years. We'll get to that in the 8 o'clock hour. It is making a turn Wednesday, so whose stocks are up and whose stocks are down. You want to play along with us? You can. Hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Or find me on Twitter at DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Kasper Sports. So let's get things rolling here this morning, though. What should be, I think we're all assuming, a newsworthy, noteworthy, interesting day in a matter of hours, if it doesn't get scooped or leaked beforehand, which, again, I'm kind of impressed that it hasn't. But with Aaron Rodgers scheduled to be on his boy Pat McAfee's show, YouTube's probably going to crash at some point today, probably during that. So might want to get on there a little bit earlier. I don't know if that would matter or not, but nonetheless, sure seems like we are going to have a decision today, the day that free agency officially opens, but we know that's kind of a joke there. So let's, should we hit it up? I got a couple things, like a couple of pieces of advice, if you will, to one Aaron Rodgers as a parting, with I'm assuming, I'll just flat out say, I'm assuming he's going to the Jets, but little piece of advice for him, and then a little piece of advice for the Packers with this offseason, life after Aaron Charles Rodgers. So, but let's get at it. Lead off coming up next. Talk a little football. If it is today, we might have to give it to Evil Surveyor. He was the closest in the Rodgers pool. He picked March 14th, which was yesterday. So, congrats, Evil. You got bragging rights over Surveyor. Friday. What are you doing Friday for the games? Well, hopefully you'll be hanging out with myself. Be over there around noon for a couple hours at High V, watching some games. Got free beer Friday during the games as well. You get a free beer from High V. Otherwise, tomorrow, Friday too, after your free beer. Saturday, Sunday, $2 man cave lights on tap. Sounds like they're gonna have some Bud Light on tap too for just $2. $2. That's it. So if you're and they're gonna have some food specials as well. They've got some great wings over there at Wahlburgers. But if you're looking for somewhere to maybe have a little lunch, maybe get a little break, maybe a little bit of an extended lunch. If you need a permission note, I will gladly write you a permission note for that. But if you're not doing anything, especially on Friday, I'll be over there for a couple hours hanging out, watching some of the games on the tube over at High V, and obviously partaking in a little bit of free beer and $2 man cave lights. Yeah. Hey, with the tournament time, back in your maybe younger days, or maybe you still do it now. Does anybody have any traditions when it comes to the tournament? Like I know some people still take off for like the opening rounds. They'll take off work and such. But man, whenever the tournament comes, I instantly go back to college, and that's when I miss, hanging out with my dudes, with my buddies, and sometimes it would kind of fall into spring break, and you know, we didn't go anywhere warm or do anything like that. We just hung around and put up multiple TVs and watched a lot of college basketball. Those were the good old days. Those were the good old days. I miss it. But anybody still kind of do anything fun, traditional wise, when it comes to the games and such? Let me know. Hit me up, okay? Speaking of Friday too, I mean, remember Marquette? They're going to be tipping off. They get one of the first games there too, so be able to catch that. Michigan State USC is going to be the first game on Friday. Kennesaw State and Xavier as well. Thursday wise, the first game that'll tip off the entire tournament. West Virginia taking on Maryland. So everybody should have gotten their bottle cap teams that we did. Everybody should have gotten their bottle cap teams out there. So you got your teams to follow and that sort of thing. Tried to make it as even as possible. So this was, in case anybody's wondering, this is what we did, or this is what I did. I went by the final rankings. Okay, final rankings as determined by the NCAA with all the tournament teams. They ranked them 1 through 68, split it in half. So everybody got a top team from 1 through 34, and everybody got team 35 through 68. That way nobody got like 68 and 67 and be like, all right, well, I'm out of it. So try to make it as fair as possible. And then we went to I went to like random.org, I think is a website, put in 1 through whatever, blah, blah, randomly assigned them. So boom. Took a while, but everybody, I think, got a text or a tweet back of who their teams are. All right, lead off. Here we go. A day that shall live in Packers history infamy. We're all assuming that a decision or an outcome will be announced today from Aaron Rodgers, as he is going to be on the Pat McAfee Show, noon our time, 1 p.m. Eastern. I think that's the time, right? Yeah. So I think we are, at least I am, and I think the majority of people out there are assuming that he's going to say that he's going to the Jets, and that, maybe do a little thank into the Packers fans, as long as I don't hear another Packers fans will truly understand. And then we got way too much Brett Favre connections there. But, okay, bad joke. But nonetheless, that's where I'm assuming. If anybody else assumes otherwise, please let me know and give me your reasons why. I mean, he could still go out there and say he's retiring, calling it a career. Maybe this is the way to do it, going on Pat's show and saying he's calling it a career. I don't know. But it is kind of weird that if he is saying he's going to the Jets, and maybe it'll be leaked by the teams beforehand. Maybe like the Packers and the Jets will post something out beforehand. But part of it, it would be kind of weird that he's announcing on a YouTube show that he's going to a different team before the teams announce it and that sort of. I don't know, but it's Aaron Rodgers' world, and we're all just kind of having to live in it right now. But I'm wearing the old Rodgers jersey for one more time. Probably be the last time I ever wear this thing, but I guess never say never. But hey, if this is it for his Packers tenure, whether it's retirement or whether it's moving on to a different franchise, thanks for the memories, man. I know a lot of people are sick and tired of the antics, if that's what you want to call them, off the field stuff, drama, whatever word we want to use, whatever way we want to describe it. I know there's a lot of people tired of it. Hey, I just want a decision too. A lot of it is sparked by social media speculation, which isn't all on Aaron Rodgers. I think we've got to at least acknowledge that. If it wasn't for Twitter, if it wasn't for Facebook, and if it wasn't for 24/7 coverage, maybe it wouldn't be as drawn out, annoying, tiresome, that sort of thing. Saw another poll, yesterday on Twitter that, again, the majority of Packers fans, they want to move on from Aaron Rodgers, at least those who have voted. I don't know if that is the actual majority or not. But if he does move on or does call it a career, dude, Hall of Famer, number will be retired. Be the next one up there. It'll be next to Brett in the Lambeau facade in the atrium. He'll have his banner right next to Favre over there. His name will be on the facade with the rest of the Pro Football Hall of Famers when he gets inducted in that Hall of Fame, whenever that's going to be. But thanks for the memories, man. I'm not gonna have sour grapes or anything like that. Yeah, I've mentioned it before. I'm a little disappointed. I'll be a little sad. Come on now. I'm a fan. Been a fan of this team my whole life. I've been one of those that have only known Favre and Rodgers throughout my entire life. Don't remember the Mikowski era and that sort of thing. I was a little too young there. And for everybody who's always told me, you never went through the 70s and 80s, and you're damn right I didn't. And you know what? I don't want to go through it. Okay? I want to be a little entitled. I want to be a little spoiled. I don't want to go through that. Odds are, I probably will go through something of a stretch like that. But that's why I want to appreciate the times we had. You could say, did it hit all of its marks? Accomplish all their goals? No. You have two Pro Football Hall of Fame quarterbacks, two of the best of all time to ever do it. You'd like at least more than one Super Bowl each. And I get it. It's tough to win. And I'm a firm believer, too. It's not just all the quarterbacks. It's the teams around them. So it's not all on Aaron. I would point fingers in multiple directions. But if whatever happens today where he's with the Jets or he's going to call it a career, tip of the cap, man, to a hell of a Packers tenure. I mean, think about it. To where it started. Go back to 2005 when he was drafted. Majority of people upset. I was one of them. I did not want Aaron Rodgers, and I was not sold on Aaron Rodgers for the first couple of years of his career. I was not sold on him when he was a starter in 2008. I wanted Favre back. But I got to give that guy credit for all the crap that he went through in 2008. For all that stuff from fans booing him at practice, booing him at family night, for crying out loud, to having the career that he has had. That's pretty darn impressive. That's pretty darn impressive. Say what you want, whether you like the guy or not. Football-wise, that's pretty darn impressive. His career with the Green Bay Packers. Tip of the cap. Especially with how it was kind of being set up. A lot of people probably would have crumbled in that situation. Might not have been able to take the heat. He did. And he did it pretty darn well. But assuming that Aaron is moving on to the Jets, I've got a little bit, just a piece of advice for him, but also Green Bay. Now, I was toying with this scenario yesterday. Like, okay, there's a report out there that Rodgers gave the Jets a list of free agents they would like to, or he would like the team to go after. Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, Mercedes Lewis, and Odell Beckham Jr. If that really happened, I don't think anybody's really surprised at that list, right? He wants his buddies with him. I don't think anybody's surprised. But the scenario I was playing in my head yesterday is I was sitting there and I'm like, okay, if I'm Goody, Packers general manager Brian Gutekunst, and say Aaron came to me and said, Goody, I'll come back and play another year for the Packers, but I want these guys. I want these guys with me. I'm only coming back if you bring in, let's say the first three, and Odell is just like, if we can get him or not. But I will come back if you sign up Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, and Mercedes Lewis. To me, my response to Aaron at that point would have probably been, did it work last year? What was the reason why it didn't work last year? And where we would have to bring back Alan Lazard. And I like Alan Lazard. I want Alan Lazard on my team. But I also realize we got to be a little realistic in some of these situations too. But, we'd have to bring back Alan Lazard for a much bigger payday. Randall Cobb's got a 10-plus year veterans minimum. It's a little bit over $1 million. Mercedes Lewis, probably the same thing. So my response would have been, did it work when we had those three on our squad already? And that's going to be the stipulation of, and I'm not saying Aaron necessarily did that, but I was playing that game in my mind. And it's like, if if I'm Goody and he gave me this list of like, hey, I'll come back with, but you got to have these three. And I'll be like, hey, man, we tried it. We tried it that way. For whatever reason, it didn't work. It wasn't working. I can't agree to that. So my piece of advice for Aaron, if he's going to the Jets, if it's for a year, if it's for 2 years, dude, you have got to fully immerse yourself within that team, with your new teammates. Great if you can get some of your guys to come over with you, but you have got to fully ingrain with those youngsters. This Jets team is full of some talented youngsters. Wilson, Gardner, Hall. You got to be there for all the offseason stuff. You got to do some hanging out with the youngsters. You have got to get them buying in. You've got to be that ultimate teammate now. May have a lot of talented players on that roster, but you have got to be immersed with that team. You can't skip out on anything. You don't have that luxury anymore. You want to win? The only reason you would be going to the Jets for only a year, maybe 2 years, is you think you can win a championship. Well, sir, my advice to you, you have to fully commit. You have to fully invest yourself into that franchise, into that team. You can't skip out on anything. No excuses. You want to win it all with a brand new team, you got to spend some extra time there. You got to spend some extra time in the building. You may not like it. You may enjoy your off seasons and whale watching and all that fun stuff, but you have got, and you just can't, okay, Alan Lazard's going over there. You're going to target him and just ignore Wilson and some of these other guys over there too. You can't. You can't. You got to fully immerse yourself into this team. Don't come in, and I'm not saying he will, but, don't come in with like this ego, with this like, all right, big man on campus is in here. You got to jump in, all in, and be one of the guys. Now, my piece of advice for the Packers would be, and again, this is if assuming Rodgers is going to the Jets or whatever, leaving, gone, done playing, whatever. If you feel like that you can still compete in the NFC this year with Jordan Love as your quarterback, if you fully believe that, you need to let your veteran players, your top veteran players, go out there and do some recruiting for you. Because, and I know money is the ultimate decider for 95% of the players in the league. Money is going to be the main thing, comfort, that sort of thing. But there's going to be players that'll be like, okay, why should I commit a big term contract or, a contract for a couple of years to a team that I don't know anything about their quarterback? We don't know how Love's going to play. So if Green Bay fully believes that they can compete in an NFC this year, like getting into the postseason and such, with Jordan Love as their quarterback, but they need to still add some free agents. They need to go out there and recruit. The whole Green Bay thing, nobody wants to go play in Green Bay. That isn't what it used to be in the 90s. It's just not. There's still maybe some players like, but in today's world, once the season's over with, they're not, most of them aren't living in Green Bay. Some are. Some make it their permanent home. Others, no. They're flying out. But I would go to my Aaron Jones, my Preston Smith, my Devondre Campbell, Bakhtiari, those type of veterans, and be like, hey, we want to still add some pieces. We feel like we can still compete. Will you help us with a little recruiting? Because there may be some of those players be like, ooh, I don't know about the quarterback situation, though. Again, money is going to be the ultimate decider in this, in 95% free agents. But for those free agents to be like, what about the quarterback spot? You let your veterans do the recruiting. Let them go out there and help you out and help recruiting some players in. It's one thing to say, hey, come play with a guy like Aaron Rodgers. It's a little bit more difficult than to say, hey, come play with a guy like Jordan Love. We don't know how the heck he's going to be. The only people that may have a good grasp of what he's like are those players, the guys that are in the huddle with him, the guys that are practicing with him, the guys that are in the locker room with him. So that would be my advice to Goody and the Packers. Like, let your veterans go out there and make some calls and try to recruit some players if you fully believe that you can compete this year. And I was thinking about this, and it's like, I was going to 2008, Rodgers' first year as a starter, in the 6-10 year. And we know a lot of those games, came down to the defense just not closing it out. But that was also, I think, a year that it was a showcase year for Aaron. Hey, this is what I can do. This is a little bit of a glimpse of what I can do. I don't think anybody expected after watching him in 2008 for him to be a 4-time MVP. But it's like, I remember I was at that first game against Minnesota. I was like, okay. And even before then, I was like, I'm not sold on Rodgers. I'm like, okay. And then I was at that last game against the Lions when the Lions went winless. And I know Aaron's talked about this moment as one of his top 5 moments, but he was on the field. He did his TV interview or such, and everybody stayed behind. Majority of fans stayed behind. And I actually had a seat next to the players' tunnel. And Aaron was the last person to come off the field, and he got a standing ovation. And the crowd cheered for him and such. And I know Aaron has talked about that being one of the most memorable, one of his top 5 moments, because he felt like that was that moment where the fans kind of accepted him. And to be honest, that's kind of when I accepted him too. I was like, all right, now I'm an Aaron Rodgers guy. I've drank the Kool-Aid. And there's part of me that's like, is that going to be this year with the Green Bay Packers? Like I was sitting there and I'm like, I don't know if this team could be a double-digit win team with Love. They might be a 7-win, 8-win team, but will the most important thing out of this whole season be we just want to see something from Love that gives us some confidence in the future. We don't know it. We might have our like at that moment, in '08 and a couple years before, I didn't think Rodgers was going to be the guy. I was wrong, and I'm glad I was dead wrong. It's the same thing with Love. We don't know how it's going to be. We don't know how it's going to turn out. But I'll be kind of curious to see if it is decided today that Rodgers is gone. How does the rest of this offseason kind of look for Green Bay? Oh, Schefter just scared the crap out of me. Tweeted Aaron Rodgers signed his contract extension with the Packers 1 year ago today. Okay, yeah. Whew. Thought there was something leaking right there. But I don't know. I know I'm going to have more to say on that whole thing, this whole situation, especially with whatever happens today. But I think we can all agree again, we're probably going to find out something. Some will like it, some won't. Yeah, it is what it is at this point. And I've said it. I'm fine with whatever happens. I really am. I'm fine with whatever happens. If he retires, hats off to a fantastic career. If he gets traded to the Jets, all right. What kind of compensation did we get? If he comes back to Green Bay, well then we better run this thing back. And you better be incredibly active in free agency. I don't know. It's gonna be a weird day. I feel like it's gonna be the end of an era officially today. So, all right, we gotta take our break. We'll finish up the first hour after these few words. Got the Wisconsin Sports Show coming up starting on Friday, 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Wrapped up Sunday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Valley Expo Center. $7 for anybody 12 and older. If you are 11 years old or younger, you're lucky because you get in for free. But you can head to wisportshow.com for more details. It's the Wisconsin Sports Show Spring Edition already coming up here in just a couple of days. Maybe we'll see you over there at some point this weekend. So, all right. What do you think he's going to say today on Pat's show? Anybody want to throw out some bold predictions? Anybody want to throw out any guesses or anything like that? Yeah, and I gotta say, I'm actually kind of impressed it hasn't been leaked. I'm a little bit impressed. I thought, okay, the fact that obviously, Aaron texted Pat and said, "Hey, let's do this tomorrow." Conversations were out there, decisions have been made. I thought for sure it would have been leaked or scooped or reported. Pretty darn quiet. I'm impressed. I gotta say, I'm impressed. Does that mean, one way or the other what his decision is going to be? I have no idea. I have no idea. I I said it, and I think it's going to be that. I think a little bit beforehand, if I'm going to make a prediction here, I think a little bit beforehand of his appearance, it's going to be announced by both teams. I think it'll be announced, and I know officially they can't really announce it. Actually, okay, let me step back here a little bit because it can't become official till this afternoon. But I think it'll be out there before his show, and then he'll talk about it on the show and such. But yeah, because I don't think they can't officially the teams can't officially and officially announce it a trade that is until later this afternoon after his appearance. But I guess if it's like a retirement, then yeah, the team can go out there and have a post and do all that fun stuff out there. But I know this probably doesn't matter a whole lot, but once in a while I'll check out the Packers Pro Shop, see what kind of new items that they got on their website. And I did notice a couple weeks ago that they got some new Rogers stuff on there. And, they got some new stuff out there. That's probably, I'm going to guess, going clearance right away. Maybe a little bit, maybe. Might want to check that out. But yeah. Otherwise, I mean, free agency so far for the Packers has been pretty darn quiet. Alan Lazard's going to the Jets. Mr. Reed is going back to Seattle. So, you got those players kind of moving on here. So, you know, Green Bay's got to do something in the wide receiver department now that Alan Lazard is gone or will be gone. I mean, they've I got to imagine they're going to bring in a veteran somewhere. I don't think Cobby's coming back unless Aaron comes back. So I just, who else would Odell Beckham Jr. go to Green Bay without Aaron? I don't think so. Free agent market's already kind of like, meh. And again, that kind of goes back to my thing like, okay, does Green Bay think they truly have a shot this year? Or maybe they also think too is like, hey, with Jordan Love, we're going to play more within the system. It's going to be more of that offensive system that we expected or that maybe we thought would happen when Matt LaFleur came in. It's more that Kyle Shanahan system. So we can maybe draft a receiver a little bit higher. We're going to have some young receivers, no doubt about it, but they're going to play within the system, make it easier on the quarterback and the receiver to develop that connection, that chemistry a little bit. Potentially. Potentially could be there. But I'll be really curious now what's the offseason plan going to be like? Man, I couldn't tell you right now. I don't have a good gauge on this at all. I don't have a gauge on it at all. And I'm looking at too, like I know it's going to be hard, and a lot of people said too, like it's going to be hard for Green Bay if they do trade Aaron to the Jets to kind of get a player back in return. I mean, I guess it would depend on the player, like in terms of money wise. But okay, Alan Lazard's over there. If they do have Randall going up with them, then I got to imagine the Jets are going to move on from one of their receivers. It's not going to be Garrett Wilson. But, Elijah Moore was talked about as a guy that, could he be part of a trade somewhere? Corey Davis. Corey Davis just seems like maybe he's going to be a cap casualty because he's got a cap hit of $11.2 million and only a dead cap hit, according to Spot Track, as $666,000. I think if that's going to be part of a trade package, obviously that deal would have to be really, really reworked for Green Bay to take that on. But the Davis one is intriguing because obviously Matt LaFleur has a connection with him. Spent a little bit of time with him in Tennessee. In fact, 2018, that would have been Matt LaFleur's only year in Tennessee, I believe. That was one of Corey Davis's best years. 891 yards receiving, 4 touchdowns. His best year came actually the in 2020 with Tennessee when he had 984 and 5 touchdowns. But maybe there's something that can be worked out there. Going to be a weird day, people. We'll get back to this coming up a little bit later on. 1 hour in, we got 2 more to go. Hey, Bucks are going to the postseason. You can punch your ticket for that. March Madness, brackets, Badgers getting a W in the NIT. More to talk about after this. All right, second hour kicking off on this Making the Turn Wednesday. Hopefully, you're off to a fantastic start on this March 15th. Appreciate you tuning in, however, and wherever you may be checking in from. Got a couple of comments on the good old video stream here this morning. We got Chad saying, love the jersey. I hope he announces he's coming back to Green Bay just to stick it to the media. Brad, last 2 years, a kid. I'm not quite sure. As a kid, I did the Big Brothers thing with I'm assuming somebody after graduating high school who had become a Vikings fan bought tickets for Packers Viking games in the cities. Time slips by, but memories remain forever. And either way, thanks to Rogers for so many weekends. James, absolutely loving this Bucks season. Let's enjoy it. Question: after this season, are there free agents the Bucks need to re-sign, or is this core of the team locked in for a while? Well, I mean, Chris Middleton has a player option that he can opt out of and then become a free agent. I know a lot of people at the beginning of the season kind of speculated that he would do that player option and opt out. Maybe looking for a little bit of a, I don't know if he could get a bigger deal than the $40 million that he would get next year, but we'll see. Maybe he does that and gets a little bit of a cheaper deal. But Brooke Lopez is an unrestricted free agent. Jay Crowder will be a free agent as well. Javon Carter also has a player option that he could opt out of, and maybe this year, with how things are looking, he might opt out of that and try to get a little bit of a bigger payday after that. So hopefully that answers your question there, James. But let's kick off this hour doing a little sports nuggets of the day brought to you by Yancey Associates. 1869, the Cincinnati Red Stockings played their first game. They were the first professional baseball team. 1912, pitcher Cy Young retired from baseball. 1962, Canadian figure skater Donald Jackson became the first man to land a triple Lutz jump. Let's go with 1962 as well. Wilt Chamberlain finished the NBA season with 4,029 points in just 80 games. As we mentioned a little bit earlier, thanks to Schefter for tweeting us out. It was a year ago today that Aaron Rodgers signed his contract extension with the Packers. And here we are about 5-ish hours away from potentially finding out what the future will hold. Those are just some of your sports nuggets of the day brought to you by Yancey Associates. Talked a little bit about it at the beginning there, but the Badger basketball team tipping off their NIT round last night against Bradley. It was a career night for the big man, Stephen Krall, who put up over 30 points in the Badgers' win. So they will be moving on to face Liberty. It looks like Liberty taking down Villanova. Liberty was the 3 seed. Badgers are the 2 seed in their region. But 81-62 victory for the Badgers. And if you look at some of the still shots, or maybe you watch the game on the tube, but not a lot of people in the Kohl Center. And I know the kids down in Madison are on spring break this week, so that could affect it. But nonetheless, Stephen Krall, 12 of 16 overall from the field, 5 of 7 from 3 with those 36 points. Connor helping him out with 14. Klesmit with 16. Those were the only Badgers to be in double-figure scoring, as Tyler Wall just 3 points in 17 minutes of play. Chucky Hepburn, just 3 points in 28 minutes of play. So, again, next game I think I had seen is coming up on Sunday, which would make sense considering we've got boys state basketball this weekend, or I should say starting tomorrow down at the Kohl Center. So we'll see if the Badgers can continue their run through the NIT. But for the rest of the for the main brackets, for the main tournament, that's the thing that we're all paying attention to. Don't forget, you got to sign up at our website, sportstalk1051.com, for our bracket challenge brought to you by Hy-Vee. Got some prizes being donated, given to us by our good friends over there at Hy-Vee. So get your brackets turned in. The time is ticking. If you want me, I'm in an okay mood this morning. So if you want me to text you the link for the brackets, I will absolutely do that. Just shoot me a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line saying you want the bracket challenge link. We got all the bottle cap teams figured out. Everybody should have gotten a text on Monday who your teams are. Again, I kind of explained it in the first hour. went through the rankings, how the committee ranked all the tournament teams. Everybody got a team that was ranked 1 through 34, and everybody got a team that was ranked 35 through 68. That's how we kind of randomly did it there. So that way nobody got stuck with 68 and 67 and said, well, this was fun. It lasted for 5 seconds. So, but everybody should have gotten that text. So if you did it or tweet or whatever, let me know, and I'll see what went down over there. But let's talk a little Bucks here as we open up the second hour. Bucks, the first team in the NBA to 50 wins, but also the first team to clinch a playoff spot with their win last night against the Phoenix Suns. The Bucks becoming the first team in the NBA to clinch that playoff spot. So got that one checked off, but with just 13 games left in the regular season, got to imagine the next thing to check off is clinching home court advantage, clinching that 1 seed. And right now they are 3 games up on the second-seeded Boston Celtics, 4 games up on the Philadelphia 76ers. And when you look at this upcoming schedule for the Bucks, you got Indiana tomorrow night, Toronto on Sunday, San Antonio Wednesday, all those home games. Then you got a quick little trip to Utah and Denver, and then Detroit and Indiana, excuse me. And then you finish off the month, March 30th, against Boston at home and Philly at home in a back-to-back. That potentially could be an interesting 2 games in 3 days, depending on how the Eastern Conference standings are shaping up at that current time. But then wrapping up their season with Washington, Chicago, Memphis, and then Toronto. So Bucks, they're in a good spot right now. They're 8-2 in their last 10, and they're looking pretty good as they are starting to wrap up this regular season here. Lucas, your confidence that the Bucks will wrap this thing up with a 1 seed when it's all said and done?
I don't think Philadelphia can get there. Boston's looking a little shaky. Marcus Smart's looking a little shaky. They're the favorite to win the NBA championship right now. I don't know that I would have said that 1 month ago, like pretty close to it. Right now they are, and the later you get, obviously, the more likely that favorite is going to hold to a legitimate projection for the playoffs. They're the most complete team. They're the most well-oiled team. It seems as though no matter how any given game is going, they find a way to win. They don't always, but it almost always seems to work out that way. They're just kind of low-key running their way through the league right now. The only Western team that at this point would scare me for the Bucks might be Denver, just because of Jokic. And I think Jokic might be able to single-handedly, and he doesn't because he's got plenty of talent around him, but Jokic could single-handedly, he might pull a Giannis 2021 playoff run. Having a very talented team around him, but he's the guy that makes it all happen, and clearly stands out. And after that, I don't know what Memphis' situation is. Phoenix, well, it'd be cool if Kevin Durant's not injured.
That's the wild card in a lot of the situation, I think,
right,
is the health of KD.
Yeah, how much do we trust that? Where's the chemistry, et cetera, et cetera? Sacramento actually might. I mean, they could win the West. Like that is not a ridiculous notion.
I think I saw Michael Wilbon the other day saying he wanted a Kings and Bucks finals just because of what happened the other night.
Yes,
that little bit of a tussle.
That would be fun. It would be a blast. And before
a lot of people would probably hate that
oh gosh, and then we'd have to deal with the annual stupid. Well, we don't have the Knicks and the shut up.
Yeah,
this is good basketball.
Stephen A. Smith, there's nothing to do in Milwaukee and all that sort of stuff. It's like, geez, Louise, dude.
Cool. We'll just keep winning titles, and the Knicks can keep sucking. That's great.
Exactly.
Actually,
it's all about partying and where to go instead of actually watching basketball.
Well, the drama's the bigger deal than the sport at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest thing is going to be free agency this summer, more so than the NBA Finals. Actually, and I shouldn't really rip on the Knicks. They're actually pretty decent this year. They could go on a bit of a playoff run, but they're not winning the conference. They're not there yet. Cavaliers aren't there yet. The Heat are who knows? Maybe the Heat will find their way into the. Okay, which team scares you more? Any of the top teams in the East or the Heat?
Oh, any of the top teams in the East.
I say that just because, like,
Philly kind of worries me. I think Celtics, once it turns to the postseason, they'll figure things out and they'll be a threat there. But that's why I want the Bucks. I think it's incredibly important for them to get the 1 seed this year. I want Philly and Boston to beat themselves up in the second round.
yeah. And I think they would. I mean, just because of the nature of the way the two teams play, their styles. Yeah,
I'll take on the Cavs in the second round.
I can't see the real flaw with the Bucks. It used to be 3-point defense and or 3-point shooting. That's even in the let it fly era. It didn't work perfectly. What's the problem here short of Chris Middleton or Giannis or Drew going down with a playoff ending injury? That's it.
Yeah.
And that applies to every team. If they lose X player, they're screwed. If Ja goes out, well, and I suppose Memphis might actually be able to pull a Ewing theory around it. But like if Jokic goes out for the Nuggets, they're done. Talented as they are, they're not winning the championship without Nikola Jokic. Mm-hmm. If Embiid is gone from the 76ers, they're not winning. You take out Tatum or Brown, the Celtics are not winning. You take out but that applies to all sorts of
teams. That's like almost all the top teams up there. So can anybody name the top player for the Kings?
De'Aaron Fox?
You got Sabonis over there.
Yeah,
but a lot of people can.
It's good. It's going to change with time, but no, they're a bit of a more of a mystery team right now. Though, well, my gosh, the Heat, you could be like, sure, Jimmy Butler, and when there are others, there's Bam and Tyler, but yeah, a Kings Bucks finals is an actual possibility right now. That's kind of cool.
Mike Brown should win Coach of the Year. I don't know how he wouldn't at this point, but if he doesn't, that's a travesty.
Because who else would it be?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of these voters sometimes just go whoever has the most wins in their conference. Maybe at a point, Boston, their new coach, if they would finish as the 1 seed, might probably garner some votes. But we all knew Boston was going to be good anyway. So,
well, yeah, maybe I was more skeptical on how they were, but I thought when Missoula got the job, I was like, oh, the way that all happened I figured their ceiling was maybe 4 or 5 seed. I actually think Joe Mazzulla is going to get a lot of votes. Yeah. I don't know if he's going to win, but keeping the Celtics this high coming out of last year and that big controversy over the offseason, I haven't looked at the odds. I could see him winning. But Brown turned this Kings team from a rising but still really mediocre team to a very offensively talented team. Defensively, they're terrible, but offensively, they're great, which might be enough to keep them afloat in this particular conference.
Mm-hmm. All right. We got a text from Mr. Ken up north. Good morning, morning, Dan. I'm slow on getting this rolling, but for your question, how do I plan for the NCAA? I'm usually watching things at home on TV, but glued to my bracket to fill out as the games get played. Second question. Yeah, sure. Send me the link for the bracket you talked about. Okay, I'll do that. Third part, I don't know what to think about Aaron Charles Rodgers. So let's tell you what, let's take a quick break here. What do you think he's going to say today on the Pat McAfee Show in less than 5 hours from now, where YouTube's probably going to crash? I hope YouTube's ready for this.
I was wondering, does the Pat McAfee Show have the proper servers involved?
I don't know. I know sometimes they've always gone offline. Like during their show, they've gone offline. So
don't watch AJ Hawk during this. You won't be able to tell if the screen is static or if it's normal.
Let's. I hope YouTube is prepared fair receiver defer. Most views on YouTube in the last 5 years will be from today. For one program.
If it's about an individual quote unquote program, I might receive. Overall, I'm going to defer.
Of all programs, individual programs,
a set, almost like a TV program. Yeah. I might receive on that, but are we counting streaming the Oscars via YouTube? Then you probably not. But if it's like an individual, just a TV program, I mean, I guess so.
I think
And
it's gonna
especially
sit.
not counting like YouTube TV, if it's like a YouTube scripted program. I mean,
Especially since I'm impressed that it hasn't been leaked yet. Nobody got the scoop. What's actually going to be said?
Hmm.
Which I thought for sure as soon as Pat posted something, that instantly tells you conversations were had, decisions were made, and yet nobody has leaked it.
So what's your reaction going to be like if they go through it and they just chat about being in the darkness?
Oh, I'm going to be pissed like everybody else is going to be out there. I mean, I'm going to be royally pissed that I dedicated some time to listen to that.
I'd say there's about a 25% chance that is exactly what ends up happening.
That's the thing is like, that's not that far-fetched that nothing will actually be said today.
And they all know it,
Mhm.
and they know everyone's going to watch, and so it's going to be a total goof-off time and philosophical stuff, and that'll be it. And then we spend the next week analyzing all sorts of nonsense.
You know, there was something that I was catching a little bit of it when I was in here working on some stuff before we were on the air, and the whole wish list that was released from Aaron yesterday, free
Mhm.
agent wish list.
Yeah.
And I don't know who said it on the DA show, but somebody made an interesting point saying that was released because that could also be kind of an opt-out sort of thing. You know, like I could envision like if Aaron goes on the air today, I never released that. I never told anybody that was my wish list. You know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That I'm like, oh God, that could actually happen. That could actually happen.
Oh gosh.
I'm like, oh boy.
As I've been saying for almost every week, make this end. Ugh, just
Well,
go-
and it's not, and to be fair with Aaron, it's not all him. It's just
That's
the
the thing.
constant social media,
right.
24/7.
Part of it's on us too. I mean,
Mhm.
and also let's remember a lot of this may have nothing to do with the whims and drama of Aaron Rodgers as we're determining it. No, a lot of it might actually be, well, we got to put this person into this deal here, and there's a certain date we can, and that may all be it.
I know it's easy for people to kind of just assume the guy's making millions, just make a decision and all that. But at the same time, this is potentially, he's known one team for 18 years, 19 years, whatever the heck it is at this point. You know, he's only known one thing. And to potentially envision yourself going somewhere else for a year or two, that's a big change. And if it's retirement, I mean, we're all probably going to be at that point in time. I can't wait for it, to be honest with you. But some people, Bob Bolsold, for an example, retirement that's a hard decision to come to.
Mhm.
And it's a life-altering thing, and I don't blame anybody for wanting to take their time for that. But I also understand there has to be an urgency in certain departments, like an NFL franchise,
Mhm.
when it's an all-time dude making a boatload of cash.
Mhm.
There's that fine balance in there. But, you know, it's a tough decision, and
It
I
is.
don't really fault somebody for taking a little bit of extra time. I'd rather have them take a little bit of extra time instead of rushing it and then doing a Brady like he did last year, less than a month, saying, "Nah, I changed my mind. I'm coming back."
Or a Favre.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are
I
plenty
mean, the
of hype
Brady
for-
one was like ridiculous. Like, dude, you didn't even make a month for crying out loud.
Yeah. Okay.
The Favre one, I can kind of get a little bit. I think he was pushed, but at the same time, it's like, okay, dude, you were too far in that process.
Well, and that was getting into March, and then he changed his mind even later. So,
Right. Yeah. I don't know.
are we ready for Aaron Rodgers to start insinuating shade about the Jets in a June Pat McAfee show appearance?
Okay. We'll take a break, and I'm gonna get into this.
See, it never ends.
I just feel like the Jets, they're so desperate right now. They're so. We'll take a break and we'll get into it.
Yes,
So,
let's.
yeah, we'll take that break, and then if anybody else has any bold predictions on what's going to be said today, hit us up with a quick text. We'll be back after these words. Got careers and beers going on tonight at the Brewing Project. So if got nothing going on, maybe you're looking for a new gig or something like that, head on over to the Brewing Project, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m.
So would that technically mean Aaron Rodgers
could.
could come by today?
Mhm.
What if he made his announcement at Careers and Beers?
Could be.
I mean, we're talking about unconventional places. That would be unconventional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, never know. You never know who could be there.
I see. That's why you, the listener, needs to be there today.
You're free to attend. You'll even get a free brew on the house too. So yeah, 4 p.m., 6 p.m. The Brewing Project. That's where yesterday I was in a little bit of a darkness retreat because Aaron had me on his free agent wish list too. So I was contemplating whether I should, head to New York and such. But
you and ODB?
Yep. Me and Odell.
Oh, sorry, OBJ.
ODB.
Well, at this point, could you rule them out? Like, let's bring back dead rappers and demand the Jets give them a contract, and if not, no deal.
Mm-hmm. Hey,
Tupac, sign him.
Somebody said this morning too. I'd rather, if I were the Jets, I'd rather have Jordy Nelson now than Randall Cobb. I mean, okay. This whole thing here. So, I know I mentioned it in the first hour here, but I played this game. Just really quick. Packers put a second round restricted free agent tender on Yosh Nijman. It's worth $4.3 million. So it sounds like he'll be staying there. So unless the team gives him more and Packers have to match it. So, and then that team has to give the Packers a second round pick. That's how that all works. Anyways, let's kind of talk about this in the first hour here. But I was playing this little game with myself. If I'm Goody and Aaron came to me with that list that was reportedly Aaron gave to the Jets. Now, we don't know if it's 100% true, but it's not hard to kind of connect some dots, right? Aaron wants his guy. He said so after the season. I want to finish my career, with a guy like Mercedes Lewis. I want to be in the locker room with guys like Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb and that. So it's not that hard to kind of like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But if I was Goody and I was presented with that list, and the first three names I saw in there were Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, and Mercedes Lewis. I love Alan Lazard, but we all knew that there was going to be one team or maybe a couple teams that were they were going to give him a big deal that probably was going to be outside the Packers price range, right? Mm-hmm. So I love Alan Lazard, but I'm like, I don't know if I can afford it. But if Aaron said to me, and I don't know if this was the case, I'm just kind of playing this game here. But if Aaron said to me, I want these three guys back, then I'll come back and play for you. My response to Aaron would have been like, so why didn't it work last year with these three guys when they were younger and cheaper? Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, I'd be like, thanks for the memories. Play a little Fall Out Boy or whatever they are. Is it Fall Out Boy? Yeah, play a little Fall Out Boy.
Thanks for the memories.
And it's been fun. But now the Jets are so flippin' desperate here. Like, I know people are kind of maybe thinking, well, Brady did the same thing. There's a difference between wanting Gronk to come play for you and Randall Cobb and Mercedes Lewis. Can we all agree with that? Yes. There's a difference with that.
Massive difference there. Good character guys, hard workers, etc. I can give you all sorts of praise, which is all legitimate. Also, not the players who will get you over the hump to win the first Super Bowl for the franchise since the 60s. Mm-hmm. Simple as that.
Yeah. And my thing is, too, is like, okay, Aaron, you want those guys. But let me ask you, who's going to block for you? You don't have a left tackle. Who's gonna block for you? You got these other parts on this Jets team that, are kind of important. And like, I think it was Tom Silverstein who covers the Packers had mentioned, you look at the Packers and the Jets, kind of like last year, looking at those free agents, Packers had a better offensive line than the Jets and a better running game with Aaron Jones with those guys. And look how they did. Mm-hmm. Do we all assume Nathaniel Hackett's going to figure something out? Didn't figure anything out. I mean, he got fired not even through his first year with Denver, for crying out loud, calling plays as the head coach, and then gave up play calling.
How excited are we to see Garrett Wilson giving that wide receiver, you didn't throw me the ball, look after Aaron Rodgers at the end of a game against the Dolphins on 4th and 7 throws to a triple-covered Allen Lazard with Wilson on one guy zipping down the field.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say that that's going to happen, but boy, can I totally see that happening. Also, where do the security blankets get injured? Randall Cobb has his annual week 4 injury. Mercedes Lewis somehow gets injured. What if Allen Lazard gets injured and now, the guys that he's used to playing with, his buds, aren't out there anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Now what? I mean, not that he can't play with Garrett Wilson, etc., but how's that going to go? Also, I know we're a lot, those of us that are trying to project for next season we need to see what all the compensation is, who all leaves New York, what all is coming to, etc. Then what third teams, what all happens. But I don't sense, outside of a very talented quarterback going to the AFC, and that is the talent level goes up even if Aaron Rodgers' ability is going down. I don't sense anyone going, well, the Jets are in the Super Bowl conversation. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm missing all of that. That's not happening.
Evan, yeah, thanks. We mentioned this in the first hour, but thanks for the screenshot of something where Pro Football Talk, put a thing out there that somebody had told them that the Packers would be content waiting until the draft to trade Aaron Rodgers to get what they want. I mean, that's essentially a game of chicken right now. I mean, I think the best thing that could have happened for the Packers was Jimmy Garoppolo signing with the Raiders as early as he did. And obviously Derek Carr going to the Saints, because there is nobody left unless the Jets are like, hey, Matt Ryan's available now. Let's go grab him.
They can make a deal for Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I mean, that was the best thing to happen, because that just, you don't have that fallback of like a Jimmy G or anything anymore. You don't. So Jets are absolutely desperate right now. Could they get a little bit more desperate the longer they wait? Yeah, maybe. But if they're having conversations with Aaron Charles Rodgers, which is also being reported out there, and if they're getting like reassurances from Aaron, like, yeah, I'll play with you. Yeah, I'll play with you. It's going to happen then, regardless of what time it's going to be.
Yeah.
Like the Jets could turn around and be like, hey, we know Aaron wants to play with us. You can play this little game of chicken with us, but we know Aaron's not going to play for you and he wants to play with us. So either he retires and you don't get anything, or you can send him over to us and we'll give you some picks.
I'm trying to keep an eye on like who has the perceived leverage. Again, this is all analytical. This is not based on people actually knowing, because who's really in the discussion and is then going to go to Twitter to talk about it. But the impression I've got, a lot of it's based on Andrew Brandt's Twitter feed, which is pretty much a must follow right now, especially with all things, even outside of Rodgers, the whole free agent cap, understanding guaranteed money, etc. But his view is like the Packers have they've got all the leverage in the world right now. They know, okay, you're gone, etc. It's the Jets that are so desperate. It is one-sided at this point. And yeah, the Packers are going to be like, yeah, okay, well, we know what we're going to do. And something will come out of this, and yeah.
But how much at the same time do you have to factor in? Like, do you just want to cut the ties right away and move on and not let that hang around? Because at some point, you got to factor in Jordan Love here at this point, right? You got to factor in the mindset over there. Like at some point, do you want kind of a repeat of 08 where you got a guy that wants to come back and you calls a, all that summer of 08 crap that was out there? Do you necessarily want to keep hanging on to him just maybe to get an extra third-round pick or something?
Well, and then what we don't know is, has Brian Gutekunst sat down with Jordan Love and said, and I know management with players, how many times have they said, this is exactly what's going to happen, and then next week the opposite happens? But have they sat down and Gutekunst told Love, no, you are 100% our guy. This is this is a process. We're all watching. We're on in the midst of this right now. But what you're seeing is what everyone else is seeing. You are a guy. Work plan as the starting quarterback for next year. Nothing will change. We're not repeating 08. No one's going to fly in on family night to cause drama. No, that is not happening. That I think would mostly reassure. Like I said, management with players. There is a history of lack of honesty, shall we say, and sometimes that goes both ways. But I would think they would have done that now, that they wouldn't be letting Jordan Love hang out there, because Love could then be like, you know what, I don't want to sign that. I'd rather not do that. Trade me.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've got a massive problem. Okay, so let's say somehow the Jets thing doesn't work out. I don't think so. So who else would take Aaron Rodgers at this point? Not the Raiders.
No.
Not the Niners.
No.
Who's left?
Probably not Miami, because I don't know how much cap room they would have now.
No, not the Panthers.
Nope. Not the Texans.
Who's?
I mean, you got to think of a realistic team that Aaron would play for at this point too. You know, I do think it's, thinking back at the summer of 2008 where the Packers shipped off Brett Favre to the Jets. I know he says he doesn't regret it, but I mean, come on, let's be real here a little bit. He regretted it a little bit, right? Like, yeah, they got me. But he got him back by going to Minnesota and that such. But Green Bay won a Super Bowl and Favre didn't during those 4 years. So that's where I say Packers won that one. So, but the other, wouldn't it be awesome? Wouldn't this just be freaking awesome? I tweeted this the other day, that somehow the Patriots get involved and Bill Belichick just puts up the middle finger to the Jets again. Wouldn't that be hilarious? That somehow the Patriots get Aaron Rodgers and Bill's like, that's for you, Jets fans, or that's to you for the Jets. We know he hates the Jets. He hates the Jets.
That would be funny.
That would be hilarious.
Oh, and talk about teams to break the internet. We're thinking like, Rodgers to New York. Can he handle it? Well, yeah, probably can. And also it's the Jets. It's not the Giants. To the Patriots, and I'm not talking media. I'm talking like New England sports media. The Boston sports media is about as intense as they come. Rodgers to the Patriots under Belichick. Can we comprehend our readiness for this? Oh boy.
I don't know. Like the other team I was thinking was Tampa Bay, but I know they're paying off some dead cap from Tom Brady there. So I don't know how much of a likely option that would be.
Interestingly, by the way, Brant literally just tweeted about the why is it taking so long thing. And he's thrown in the possibility of the Jets and Packers are actually waiting until free agency legitimately starts to do anything. Like they're actually, as he said, maybe they're actually playing by the rules. Which I didn't think that really mattered at all. But
what was his last line on there though too?
Not likely, but possible.
Mm-hmm.
The mere fact that he's saying that, and I mean, he's from the Packer organization. He's got a lot of history there, and a lot of the people that were there back then are still hanging around. I think the culture is still largely the same. So that would be a more educated bit of speculation. And again, maybe it is that reason for all of this. And it's
and remember, there's a couple dates here coming up here too. March 17th is when you can, that whole bonus thing that's kind of holding up. That's the big part of where Aaron's contract is. He's got that bonus that you have to pick up between now and week 1, March 17th until week 1. That's kind of like the big old number that's going to be attached to Aaron. So you got that into it. You got there. I believe there is an NFL rule that you got to wait. I think it's 12. So if today is the year, like Schefter said, 12 months before renegotiation, or that you can do that. Well, here you go today, sort of thing. There could be a bunch of different factors, but I don't think that just my personal belief. If there was a renegotiation, and that's the only thing that's holding up, I don't necessarily buy that because we would have heard about it. How many times have the legal freaking tampering period, for crying out loud? I mean, we hear stuff before it's legal anyways, right?
Yes.
We hear all this before. We hear about trades that are legal before. What was it the Matthew Stafford one? We heard about a month before the trade deadline, and then it became official, or however it was, or was it the Carson Wentz one? I don't know. We hear that stuff before it's out there, before it can be official, I should say. So the whole thing about waiting for a certain time period in that, I don't really buy that, because we would have heard if it was like, okay, lock, sealed, delivered, this is going to happen. It would have been leaked by now.
Yeah, agreed.
But if Trey Wingo gets this right, what kind of sources does he have? Because he'll be 3 for 3. He nailed the Randall Cobb one that everybody kind of laughed at. That the only way Aaron Rodgers is coming back to Green Bay is he wants Randall Cobb. And everybody's like, yeah, okay. What happened? They traded for Randall Cobb. And he was the first one to nail that the Jets were flying out to visit Aaron Rodgers. And it took like 12 hours for another report to confirm that. Who's Trey Wingo's sources? I got to know this. I got to know what Trey Wingo's got in his pocket.
Because doesn't he have like, I mean,
he's not at ESPN anymore.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
Is he? I'm trying to remember. Is he like a Jets like super fan or
that's
is it
Greenberg?
Right.
That's Greeny. So, but he nailed the Randall Cobb one when he was going back to Green Bay. So that's not a Jets thing, though.
He's got to have a.
He's got somebody. That's
someone in a major player is got to be, and I would think someone would be able to figure it out relatively easily. I'm a little surprised no one's been like, well, did you know Trey Wingo's actually like college classmates with blank, like a Jets assistant GM or someone who would be in on all of, well, probably more of a Packer thing because of the Cobb thing. So maybe, gosh, is it Randall Cobb?
Maybe. I don't know. But it's like, I know it was a couple days ago, but I think everybody just like, as soon as Wingo tweeted that, it's like, okay, it's done. Trey Wingo did it. It's over with. And then immediately you had like the Ian Rappaports and Adam Schefter saying, no, and they wouldn't say him by name, but like Ian's was, there was a report by some respectful in the know people, but I can tell you right now, nothing has changed. And I'm like, oh boy, we're going to go into a scoop off, a source off right now between these people out there.
They're competitive. They like, because for all that Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter, it's really those two. I mean, Glazer's really big on that, but
Glazer's not like the first one out there.
He seems to have pulled back from the I've got to be first.
Yep.
Which is probably just as well. It's not a healthy thing to do. But
he's usually pretty accurate when he does come out with stuff.
That's the thing. Yep. He holds for the good stuff. But I think Rappaport and Schefter want to be preempted by anyone.
Yeah.
Especially, and again, no offense, but Trey Wingo.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you caught it. So like when NFL Network was doing a lot of their stuff and Mike Garafalo was on there and he was doing a live bit and then he answered his cell phone. Did you hear what he said?
I did not.
He said, I'm on the air right now. Don't give this to anybody else. And he hung up. So it's like, it's a competition.
Wow.
It's a competition to who gets it first.
I mean, we're getting the whole like Adam Schefter on the phone while on TV, and he's like standing up against the window in the studio, and then Adam Schefter is talking about his tweets while he's analyzing his own tweets.
Yeah.
Like this is getting very like fourth dimension sort of stuff right now. Oh man,
that's why I was kind of curious. I thought for sure it would have been leaked after McAfee put out that, hey, Aaron's going to be on the show tomorrow. Pretty much giving everybody like a 24 hours heads up to leak it.
So on the other hand, let's presume that maybe Aaron Rodgers actually, maybe Wingo's source was wrong. Maybe Rodgers actually has not given the 100% go. And maybe he did. I mean, he seems like the kind of person who actually would be like, you know what? I'm only going to tell Pat McAfee this in advance. Let's schedule this. And we'll do this at noon Central Time on Wednesday. There are a lot of folks, I don't think they would do that, but he seems to be of the mindset. Like, again, he's playing into the drama part of this. Those of us that are like, have like an entertainment viewpoint of stuff, we start to like plot things that way. I could see Rodgers doing, that's not a knock. I could see him doing that.
So to kind of go back on Andrew Brandt's little tweet there where he said, hey, maybe they're playing it by the rules. If they're playing it by the rules, then Lucas, if they are, that means Aaron would have to play by the rules and he can't go on McAfee's show and say, I'm going to the Jets because it's not official. It can't be official till this afternoon after the show.
Rogue player. He's not one of us anymore.
True, that too. Yeah.
I mean, technically he is, but he's not.
Yeah.
I mean, well, okay, well, if the Jets are trying to play by the rules, here's your guy going on the Pat McAfee show, and he's going to keep going on the Pat McAfee show, and I know that's legal, but it sounds like he can't go on a show.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's just, okay. We better get something today at noon. Like, I will only be upset if it's like blah, 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 blah.
The thing is, too, is like if he goes out there and says, yeah, I'm going to accept a trade to the Jets and that, like the team can't even beat, like I'm thinking the Packers. the Packers can't beat him to the punch with a farewell post until it's legal. Like it can't be until this afternoon. So like Aaron gets the first dibs to do it, sort of thing. And same with the Jets. They can't, legally, sort of thing.
Does he have the silhouette shot ready to go?
That's what I'm wondering. I'm like, if I'm the intern of one of these social media departments and I have the write-up ready to go, it's scheduled to post, I'm sitting there making sure that thing doesn't get scheduled ahead of time.
Yeah.
Those social media interns out there.
Or the
website
for 2022. Oh no, it already got posted.
Or the website. Sometimes that happens,
Yes.
right? The website gets updated when it's not supposed to.
A lot.
And like you go to the Jets, it's like, welcome Aaron Rodgers. Like, whoa, or go to Packers.com. Thanks for the memories. Aaron Rodgers retires. And it gets leaked that way.
Yeah, what if they have like 4 things potentially scheduled and the most odd one, like, welcome back for 5 years, Aaron.
Yeah.
I mean, like the most absurd one somehow leaks out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The old Michael Jordan facts. I'm back.
Actually,
that's what he needs to do. He just needs to tweet it out and say, I'm back.
Again, as long as we're in the realm of the absurd, why not mail it?
Yeah.
But put it in and mail it to one source. Like, here, I've got it on. And you see, like Ian Rappaport on NFL Network holding an envelope. He opens the envelope on Good Morning Football and pulls it out.
I will say, though, Aaron and Rasul Douglas were really playing with my head these last few days. I don't know if you're following along on Twitter or not, but
yes, that post, and I led the show yesterday with that, jokingly, obviously, but I just, by chance, I went on to Twitter right after the Sewell thing came out, and for a moment, I'm like, what does this mean? And it took about 5 minutes for me to realize, okay, yep. Okay, yeah, they are totally playing with us.
Yeah, I'm just like, and then he liked Rasul posted a picture of him and Aaron, and Aaron liked it, and then I don't know. At least, I don't know. I went down that rabbit hole and played mind games with me and really messed me up. So, but hey, there's still people who think Aaron's coming back to the Packers.
Well, I cannot at this point. I cannot see this. They're too far down the road. Yeah. I can't see that now.
What's more likely, him coming to Green Bay or retiring?
Retiring.
See, that's where I'm at too.
Yeah. There's too much ask involved because how legitimate do you think this list is?
I don't.
To be between the level of like, I'd like these guys if you can, compared to Beckham or else.
Yeah, but like we said earlier, he threw that out at the end of his postseason presser. Like one of those, or maybe it was a Pat McAfee show. Like, I want to finish my career with a guy like Mercedes. So I don't think it was that like far-fetched. I don't know if he literally sat down and grabbed some spiral notebook paper and wrote it down and showed it to him or handed it over to the table to Woody Johnson when they flew out to California.
Pushes it across the table and just like folds his arms and looks.
I mean, everybody in the world knew that he wanted to play with Mercedes Lewis and Randall Cobb and Allen Lazard.
Because the reason I set it up this way is because logically, if it's legit, if he really wants all those guys and he wants to keep playing, well, guess who the Packers are going to have on their team next year?
Mm-hmm.
Mercedes Lewis and Randall Cobb as a core. Well, Lazard's gone now.
Yeah.
What are you? We're bringing in $20 million a year guy, Odell Beckham Jr.
That's what I was like. I give Ian credit. When the whole Allen Lazard signing went down, I think everybody started to connect the dots. Right? It's like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. But then Ian's like, well, the Jets would have been players anyways because of his connection with Nathaniel Hackett and all that. I'm like, Ian, I appreciate the effort, but let's be a little bit more, and maybe I'm sure there would have been a little bit.
It was a little funny when Schefter's tweet broke yesterday with Joe DeGuano on the show. So we got to analyze breaking Schefter Packer news in real time. That was interesting. But the funniest part was Schefter making the point of this reunites him with Nathaniel Hackett with no Rodgers reference.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. cool.
Yeah, that's like, okay, I appreciate the effort, guys, but let's connect these dots here a little bit more. So, and that's, Alan Lazard needed to go out and get his money. This was probably going to be his only shot at getting a huge payday from some team. And credit to him, he got it. He got $11 million per year. That's a great paid for a guy who started off his career as undrafted and people thought he should convert to a tight end. Now he's making $11 million per year.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah, fair enough.
Good for him.
Yeah.
And if Aaron, the thing is, though, I will say this, if Aaron somehow comes back to Green Bay, somehow, then they got to figure out another wide receiver, a veteran. They ain't got anybody.
Well, I mean, they're not, in that regard, yeah. Like, I mean, they've got talent there between Watson and Dobbs. It's there. I think there was a little bit yesterday of, oh no, the Packers have nobody. Wait, did you watch football last year? They do.
That would just be a really young room.
That's the only thing. And there's, I know the wide receiver group for free agency isn't that great, but there's got to be. Oh gosh, Adam Thielen to the Packers.
He's visiting Carolina right now. It sounds like so.
But it's like, gosh, that makes
Juju Smith-Schuster.
I seriously won. Okay, who would you rather, Juju or Thielen?
Juju.
I think he's got more left in the tank, honestly.
Yep.
Plus, honestly, I don't know if Adam Thielen would even want to go. He might be like, nope.
Well,
sorry,
he already criticized Lambeau Field, so he's not welcome.
Wow, went further than I would. What the heck?
Yeah. So. All right, we went a little long, but that's okay. So we'll take our break, and then I'll tell you the 2 years because we'll probably have a few seconds before we get cut off by legal ID. But I'll tell you the 2 years in our second round matchup, our first second round matchup of Showdown coming up next hour. All right, quite a few texts to try to catch up on. I'll try to get through everybody's here. Surveyor bold prediction: Rodgers will announce his retirement and take Brady's gig at Fox. If they drag this out like LeBron did when he took his talents to South Beach, then Rodgers will have jumped LeBron as the most self-absorbed, egotistical a-hole in the sports world. Why even do any of this? Just pull your darn phone out and record yourself saying one of three things: Packers, Jets, or retirement. I heard a good take on National Media Show where she said if Rodgers is truly grappling with the decision, then we should give him the time to make the decision. But when you hear him speak, he does not sound like someone who's struggling with, even loses sleep over, retirement decisions. He sounds like some dude who's on vacation. Got a mention of the Colts on there. Is it possible? Okay, we'll get to these more after the break. All right, final hour kicking off on this Wednesday. That maybe we'll find out some information in about 4 hours from now. Long national nightmare for many people, maybe finally over with today, or maybe it'll get extended. Who knows? Yep. Right. So,
yeah.
Get it over with. Let's move on here. We're gonna get some stock reports coming up here in just a minute. Whose stock is up and whose stock is down. Our 2 years, by the way, because this is the first matchup of the second round of Showdown. 85 and 94.
Okay.
85 and 94 is your first matchup there. So get to that coming up in about 10 minutes or so. Catching up on some more text. Why did Alan Lazard sign with the Jets? Probably because he got paid. P-A-I-D paid $44 million. Not a bad chunk of change. Got more than Marquez did from Kansas City last year. More power to him. This is probably only his big deal, so go get it while you can. $22 million guaranteed for a guy who started off as an undrafted free agent. Go get it.
Mm-hmm.
Go get your money.
Sure.
What else do we got here? Is there something about Aaron's contract that it need to be a year old before it could be renegotiated, so nothing could happen until today? Kind of touched on that. Again, I don't, how many times do we hear about stuff before, things become official and all that sort of stuff? So I don't know if that really was a big play into this factor. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. But, all right. You ready to do some stock reports?
Let's.
All right. Let's stock up. Who do you got?
Stock up AFC. Because they're upgrading quarterbacks again. And I am presuming that Aaron Rodgers goes to the New York Jets.
How confident are you in it? Give me a percentage.
95%.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
I'll go 94.5.
Wow. Going with percentages here.
Yeah. 94 and a third.
94 plus pi.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be better. I was kind of cute to make this observation. I'm like, oh, of course I hadn't thought of this. The new Russillo just dropped yesterday and going over how the balance between AFC quarterbacks and NFC quarterbacks as a result is going to be getting that much wider. I mean, Garoppolo goes to the AFC. And again, we're not talking necessarily Patrick Mahomes level. And yes, I'm throwing Aaron Rodgers in the discussion of not Patrick Mahomes level. Aaron Rodgers may not be all that great, but he's better than what the Jets had last year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure he will perform better than what the Jets had last year. And now maybe there's a world where Jordan Love actually outplays Aaron Rodgers. But Aaron Rodgers versus the Jets quarterbacks last year compared to Jordan Love versus Aaron Rodgers.
You know one person that nobody is talking about in this whole situation is Zach Wilson.
True.
And I know I brought it up a couple weeks ago, but Zach and Aaron are close. Like they're friends. They're dudes. And nobody's really talked about Zach Wilson throughout this whole thing. And that was part of me is like, would Aaron view going to that situation as hurtful for a guy that he's kind of mentoring a little bit? Or does he view it as, hey, maybe I can help him with his career sort of thing?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. But also, Zach Wilson, his contract, let me see if I think is it next year they got to decide on the 5th-year option or not for him?
Yeah.
At that point. Yeah, he's an unrestricted free agent, not until 2026. So, I mean, the whole 1 year, 2 year thing kind of makes sense of Aaron playing over there and maybe being a little bit of a mentor to the youngster. But I got to imagine those two talked or have been talking.
Yeah, I
got to
think so.
that.
Plus, does this mean Zach Wilson is still the long-term future of the Jets?
Well, I mean, here's the interesting thing here too is like, he doesn't have the cheapest cap hit. It's worse if you try to release him. His dead cap is 20.7. But for a backup quarterback, he's going to have a $9.6 million cap hit.
No, that's a fair amount for a backup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Aaron Rodgers, I know he's had some injury issues over time, but I wouldn't say he's fragile.
Right.
So I wouldn't bank on Wilson really being needed this season. as old as Aaron Rodgers is by NFL standards, I wouldn't bank on that.
I can't wait for the whole, like, if Aaron pulls a rabbit out of his hat and says, "Nah, I'm retiring" and all that. I can't wait for the first Jets presser and saying, "We've got all the confidence in Zach. We got his back." The whole blowing the smoke up that guy's butt sort of thing, and trying to calm down the masses. It's gonna happen if Aaron says, "No, I ain't going there." So.
Yeah.
I'm just like, man. I was like, Jets fans, you might want to mentally prepare for that just in case Aaron says, "I'm not going there. I'm going to retire." Just in case, because you got nobody else out there besides Matt Ryan.
Be kind of comical to see that all happen.
Unless you somehow think you can get Lamar Jackson. I don't see that happening, but yeah.
What if it did? I mean, there's a reason why you still have the whole, would the Jets be better off with Lamar Jackson? That's not just, let's just throw out, like, would they be better off with Joe Namath? Well, no. I mean, that's one of those just like complete opposite. No, they actually could negotiate and potentially get Lamar Jackson.
They would almost have to make that contract so ridiculous, though, that the Ravens wouldn't match it.
Right.
Because there's a lot of people just assuming that whatever agreement he would come to, the Ravens will just automatically match it.
So, the risk of prolonging this, but this is we're in Aaron Rodgers' world, and we're all just speculating on it. So, if the Jets really are as desperate as we're getting the impression, again, third hand, that the Jets are right now for a quarterback upgrade, at least in the short term, and if somehow that 5% or, as you put it, 5.5 2/3% chance comes to fruition, and the
with
Jets
a little
deal,
repeating line on the top, my math skills there.
7 falls apart. Well, why would they not get desperate and be like, you know what, we're going to throw a ton of money at Lamar Jackson? Ravens, we dare you to match it, because we can't go back to Zach Wilson this season in a quote-unquote make-or-break year for Robert Saleh. How well is that going to go? And you might as well just cut ties with Saleh right now and go hire, I don't know, David Shaw or someone like that, or somehow pull Harbaugh. I mean, just the Jets might get crazy desperate at that point, but I think that also means legitimately I could see them doing the Godfather deal for Lamar Jackson, and the Ravens are like, "Oh, cool, you're gonna do that? Okay, cool, go ahead."
The thing is like, okay, even if the Jets get Aaron Rodgers, are they a top team in the AFC?
That's the thing. I've not heard anything about Super Bowl projections. I mean, I was getting a little mocking yesterday of, let's pick the NFC North after day one of announcements on free agency, which some sports talk show already broke it down yesterday. Winners and losers.
Well, it was the first hour. Everybody was like gung-ho about the Bears. And they signed one guy, TJ Edwards. But there was that rumor that they were going to get Mike McGlinchey, the right tackle, and that didn't happen.
Bears winning the division.
And then I literally saw it an hour and a half later. It was Louis Riddick saying, "Where are the Bears at?" I'm like, oh, gosh, we're doing this.
Yeah. I mean, and I did yesterday talk about, like, and I asked Joe, like, how much do you think they improved? Okay, based on what we know, sure. But let's not also put your money down in Vegas. I'm sure there's some people that did put their money down in Vegas. Actually, if you were smart, you put your money down on the Bears before Monday.
Yeah.
Because that line is definitely moving in a not so advantageous direction. But I
still like the Lions. And getting David Montgomery, I think, was a nice little boost too. So
that definitely did help. I mean, I think the Lions are the favorite. Like, okay, if you did ask me at 8:13 in the morning on the morning before free agency opens, but on day 3 of unofficial free agency, I mean, if I had to actually pick, well, for one, I'm getting out of the sports world if anyone's making me pick right now. But second, Lions, I'd say it'd be 1. I think Packers 2, Bears a strong 3. I think the Vikings 4th. And I think they're all within about 3 wins of each other.
You got your Vikings dead last.
But with like maybe a 7-10 or an 8-9 record.
But you think a Packers team with Jordan Love would finish higher than your Vikings?
Because the Vikings are going for 2024.
Okay.
That's
interesting.
That's totally what Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah is doing right now. He's getting rid. I mean, I know these.
Did you have fun with Za'Darius for 1 year?
Well, I mean,
wants out already.
Got like
it was the greatest thing that ever happened to him, and then Now I want out of here.
Hey, we got a Defensive Player of the Year honor or of the Week honor out of it. So
Congrats.
Hey, the
I thought
Vikings.
he liked his dancing with Kirk Cousins in an airplane.
The Vikings had a mission to own Player of the Week honors last year, and they were a dynasty. Mission accomplished. Realistically, though, the Vikings needed to get rid of a lot of bloated contracts and older players. And that's the smart thing to do as an NFL team. And that's what the Patriots have done and how they stayed competitive. That's smart business for the NFL. And it's not within if you're a second-year GM and you've got all these contracts, you're not going for the Super Bowl in year 2. That's not a smart approach either. They could be a last-place team. And by last place, I said like 7-10. I think the floor, worst case scenario, is 6, and that's not happening either. Mm-hmm. So they could be last place, but not by much. And if any team is going to leap in the North this year, and this is not just based on the last 2 days, overall, I could see the Lions suddenly bursting out to like 11 wins, maybe. But I think we're going to have a pretty tight race among all 4 teams this year, where last and first is not going to mean as much as it would in a lot of other divisions.
I was thinking about this the other day, and where I could see the Jets winning 10 games, going like 10-7 with Aaron Rodgers, maybe being a postseason team at that. Mm-hmm. And I could see Green Bay 7-8 wins. But I would bet more on the future with Green Bay than the Jets.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
The Jets are all in for now. The Packers are making the long-term play. And that's smart football too. If the big picture approach from actually the 3 GMs all around here, between Poles, Adolfo Mensa, and Gutekunst, big picture, take out any of your fandom, because it's very easy to criticize Goody, and we've seen plenty of that. I think all 3 are making the right moves. None of the moves may result in the Super Bowl, but I'm not shaky on any of those 4. I don't know enough about the Lions to know, but I think they've done a lot of the good work already.
Brad Holmes over there.
Yeah. I think they performed well, and also the coach hire is, well, evidently now looking pretty good. But
they won that trade with the Rams. Well, Rams got a Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford.
That's the other part.
I don't think they're really regretting it, but it worked out for the Lions too.
Right.
So
yeah. So, but I think we're surrounded by a lot of savvy GMs, at least as far as we know. 5 years from now, we might be like, whoa, that guy turned out to be pretty NFL GM stupid. These are all really smart people too, mind you. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so anyway, who's your stock riser?
My stock riser, I was going to go simple. Right now, the Bucks, the first team in the NBA to clinch a playoff spot, first one to 50 wins. I don't think they'll get to 60. They got 13 games left. They'd have to go win their next 10 out of 13, because, I mean, you're going to have those load management games, especially if they clinch the 1 spot with a couple games left. Mm-hmm. You're going to have that. So, but I'm really looking forward to that March 30th and April 2nd game. Boston, Philly, both in Milwaukee. That might potentially decide, clinch it for Milwaukee to get the 1 seed.
Yeah.
Because after that Philly game on the 2nd, he's got 4 more, and it's Washington, Chicago, Memphis, and Toronto.
Yeah.
And then the other part I was going to throw in there too is Brook Lopez. Stock up. Last Friday we were talking about him at length after that 9-block performance. He is, I think, quietly, and I know he is quietly, but we were going through numbers. He's averaging career best since Brooklyn. During his time for the Bucks, these are more points per game he's averaging. His 3-point percentage is better. Obviously, the blocks in that. And this guy's, 35 years old? He's having a very freaking good season, but it's a little quiet because, Giannis is doing his thing. Drew Holiday has been an all-star this year, and it kind of gets swept under the rug a little bit. Mm-hmm. But where would this Bucks team be without Brook Lopez right now, too? He's a big-time factor.
This team is good. This team is so
This is the perfect definition of a team that has all the talent in the world, but the chemistry is there too. We've seen some of the most talented teams not do a lick. They've got the perfect combination.
They are the definition right now. I always want to qualify that because I don't want to get too hot take-ish, but they actually are the figurative sports well-oiled machine. We throw that around a lot, and usually accurately so. But this if you want to see how this works and you don't like tune into one Bucks game, they have an off game, like, whoa, stop. They overall, this is ideal basketball execution in the NBA right now. It's working so well. And I don't really see any reason to think that, well, they shouldn't be playing this hard right now. No, like, I think this is well suited for the playoffs too.
Mm-hmm.
I as I said earlier, I think the Bucks are the favorite to win the NBA. I think they're the favorites to 2 out of 3 seasons, and barring something else happening.
Yep. All right, stock down.
The Dodgers.
Okay.
And I know that already between, I mean, the Trey Turner injury, or not Troy, sorry, a Gavin Lux injury, because he replaced Trey Turner. That's what I was got in my brain confused. The Gavin Lux injury, the platooning in the outfield right now, and then Freddie Freeman has an hamstring injury playing for Canada in the World Baseball Classic. And yes, I know before we get in the whole, well, the injuries in the world. I mean, look, Gavin Lux also got injured in a spring training game on a non-contact play. So what? Should we not have spring training now too? And that's a worse injury. We don't even know about how bad Freeman's is. Maybe it's like a 4 to 6 week sort of thing. The point is, Dodgers are getting waylaid by injuries. They will not be as good as last year win-wise. I can't believe I'm saying this. I think they'll make the playoffs. But the mere fact that I'm referring to the Dodgers and thinking they'll make the playoffs, I think, tells you a lot of where they're going. And the Freeman injury hurts just that much more. This is where you can start to go, So the Dodgers slipped a little bit more. The Giants aren't going to be that. I mean, I'm getting to the Brewers here in a sec. So Giants, they're going to be so-so. The Diamondbacks are going to be improved. They're going to be noticeably better this year, but are they better enough to be in the running for the playoffs? And the Rockies are nothing. Yeah, the East is going to still be pretty strong between the Phillies, Braves, and Mets. You get to the Central, because Miami, so in the Nationals, nothing. Go to the Central, and where I probably presumed that, again, the winner will be the only team with a shot. Now this is where, if you're the Brewers and if you're a Brewers fan and you're going, how long can the team hold out with Burns? Do they have to trade him, etc.? Is it you got to hold off the Cardinals, or else it won't be the Pirates, it won't be the Reds, and I don't think the Cubs are going to get that much better this year. The third wild card might come from the Central because of all that's happening to Los Angeles. Just keep that in the back of your mind. That's not a bold prediction, but you start to see where, if the Brewers have a bit of a ceiling on them, that ceiling might not be low enough that they can't make the playoffs. Maybe, they get a bad, like if Brandon Woodruff gets an injury, okay, thanks. Well, cool, 500 team. But situations are working out a little bit where Milwaukee may not need to win the division to make the playoffs this year.
All right, my stock down is anybody who did not pick Houston to win the whole thing.
Sorry.
Because the fix is in.
Well, that's right.
The fix is in.
It's the script. It's the script.
I mean, come on now. We almost got it last year, and everybody was goo-goo-gagging about with Coach K and Duke, and, North Carolina in the Final Four. He's going to beat them and win the national championship this final year. We got close. We want the storybook stuff. Jim Nantz in his final call. Who's the number 1 team in the country? His alma mater, Houston.
Yep.
It's going to happen. So anybody who didn't pick Houston to win it, your stock's down. It's going to happen. The script is there. Bank it in. You can bet G-Man's 401k, not my 401k on that one. So
I did make my picks. I've yet to enter them in the bracket challenge.
How many mentions are we going to hear throughout the tournament about Jim Nantz, Houston, and Freddie Couples?
Probably not a lot from CBS, but from people around it. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Plenty. Yeah. It could get nauseating at a certain point.
You know what would be even more fantastic? You want to make a movie on this? Nantz calls the Houston win the national championship, and then somehow Freddie's on the final grouping on the Masters just a few days later. Boy. I mean, Jim Nantz, that would just be like the cream of the crop right there.
It's Nantz world. Okay, folks, what's Jim Nantz's signature line going to be if Houston wins in Houston?
Ooh.
Up there with Juan shining moment and Simon says championship. I know
Yeah.
I'm going way back with some of those, but
Yep.
that set the table.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah. Houston, we have a championship.
That's probably that's
Actually,
a good one.
oh my gosh, I think I just nailed it.
Yeah,
Wow.
that might
wasn't
not be bad.
That wasn't even the thing is that wasn't hard to pick out, and it works too.
And I hate to say it, but you know, people are going to kind of question it. Is it going to stick around for a while? It is Kelvin Sampson as coach.
That's true. I have, for what it's worth, I have Alabama UCLA with the Bruins winning it.
Okay.
In the feel bad tournament run. How excited are we for Alabama to make a run?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
I know all the league. I get it. I know the story. Still.
You know what? I don't care because you know what? My team's not in it. Wisconsin's not in it. I hope Marquette makes a deep run, but I'm all about the craziness this year. Let's just have it. Let's just have it.
Sure.
But you know what's going to happen, Luke? Duke's going to go on a run. Kentucky's probably going to go on a run or some ridiculous thing like that. And it'll be traditional blue bloods again.
Actually, I think, okay, what was my Final Four? Because I was picking it. Okay.
A lot of people have Duke in the Final Four.
You know what?
Because they're hot.
I do too.
Yeah.
I did it. I can't believe it, but I did it. I mean, it made sense. I have Alabama, Duke. I got UCLA. I think I've got Texas. Yeah, because I have two seats. So that's my Final Four.
Did you have Texas beating Houston in the Battle of the Alamo?
I think I did. I'm trying to remember if because I did throw in a few wacko upsets in there, but I don't think. Well, you'll see it in my bracket later on, but I don't think I went that far. I think it was Texas. Yep, that battle.
Duke and UConn are popular, like 4, 5, 6 teams that people are picking to go make a run.
Mm-hmm. I've heard a little bit about the Huskies. I don't know though, because usually like half of those teams that are expected to go on runs that are like mid-range actually do, and the other half flame out really early. So good luck trying to pick which one.
I think the East region is going to be the one that's going to be where I can make the case of the first 6 seeds making a run to the Final Four. You got Purdue, you got Marquette, you've got Kentucky as the 6, you got Duke in there, and you got Tennessee as the 4. You can make a legit case, I think, for one of those 6. Would you be surprised if one of those 6 are in the Final Four?
No.
I wouldn't.
No, not at all. Gosh, I can't log into my thing here.
And then, I look at the South and the Midwest. That one might be the most chalkish. Alabama, you got Houston, but then Texas, and then Arizona. A little bit with the West. You got Kansas as a 1, and then UCLA. But some of those mid-round games in there, you got UConn as the 4 seed in there. So, yeah. But the East, I think, is the one that, like, you told me one of those 1 through 6 seeds are in it. Oh, and I think I forgot to mention Kansas State is the 3 seed in the East. And they're the ones that like nobody's talking about in their 3 seed. Everybody's focused on Duke, even Kentucky and Purdue and Marquette and all that. And Tennessee. I mean, at one point they were close to the number 1 team in the country. I think.
They're fatally wounded.
Yeah.
They're not. I think I've got them beating Louisiana. I think I've got them.
And then they'd play Duke.
And then and obviously I have them losing to Duke. Yeah. By the side note, I should have gone with Shaka Smart for my stock riser. And I say that I heard this last night on SV Pod. They won. I can't remember who it was because this would have been the Big East tournament. So I think it was Stanford Steve was at the Garden. Saw something you never see when the team is done in one of these conference tournaments. The assistant coaches typically come out, watch the next game for scouting. Shaka Smart came out to watch the next one to do the scouting as well. That never happens. And they were praising the heck out of Shaka Smart. Like, this guy, he's like he's so into this. He wants to see it with his own eyes with the assistants. Like that's some commitment. And he's not just saying, assistants, you do your thing and I'll go sit in the office. No, he's back out there.
Is that good, or is that also micromanaging?
No. Then that would be the criticism if Marquette doesn't do anything.
But I'm just playing.
Yeah, that's the other side of the coin with all of this.
Playing devil's advocate. So.
But
I'm excited though. I'm excited to see this thing kind of tip off. So.
Complete change here. Did you see the Pat McAfee news?
Oh God,
from Andrew Marchand?
No, what?
Just reporting that he could walk away from his FanDuel deal, according to the New York Post.
Oh, okay.
I mean, this is
that's big money.
It is. quick reading through and again, he just posted this, but this is kind of breaking. But then as Marchand says, he says, it appears McAfee will only make the jump if he knows where he is landing. And he says McAfee's continually bet on himself and won, which means first and foremost, he's going to trust his instincts, not others. So there's a little bit of like speculation, but with Andrew Marchand, it's educated speculation.
That goes hand in hand then with what he always teases that we're up to something season.
Mm-hmm.
And he did that a couple days ago.
So
there's something that's coming.
Yeah. So I mean, you may hear more about this. Interesting that this breaks the morning of possibly.
Hey, maybe him and Aaron are starting their own network.
What if that's the announcement today? I just realized that.
They're starting their own network streaming service. $5.99 a month. Aaron can do his documentaries that he wants to do. McAfee does whatever the heck else, wrestling and all that.
Macrod Productions.
Ooh, there you go.
You're welcome.
Yeah. No. Okay.
They need to give me royalties for that.
That's
waiting
not bad.
Waiting
or it's going to be the whole debate. Whose name goes first?
That's the thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Rod Pat? Patchers?
Or you can just go Rod Man.
That would work too.
Yeah. All right, we got to do a quick version of Showdown. Our first, since we're all in the brackets, it's the second round matchup here. 85 versus 94. This is going to be interesting for me, Lucas, for the movie and music department for 85.
Well, and
94 is also my, I love the 90s. Can we bring back that, by the way? The what was that VH1 thing that they always did?
Yeah, I love that. You realize I love the 90s is now.
Is the 90s what the 80s used to be like a few years ago?
Well,
you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah. Okay. The usual pop culture nostalgia cycle, at least as it's been for the past half century, has been 20 years later, a certain decade comes back. Like clockwork could work pretty well. 80s kind of blew that up. I think it's because it turns out that the 80s there's so much culturally interesting in that decade that it didn't stop. The 90s took a little bit, I think because of that the 80s still were still popular in the 2010s when the 90s should have been popular. So I think it's all delayed by a bit. Now the 90s are getting their nostalgia run. Like that it's very clear, but the 80s also haven't gone away. I like they're both coexisting. And we haven't you can see the beginnings of 2000s aughts, if you will.
In other words, I'm getting very old now.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing. You want to think of oldness?
Is that a word?
I just made it up.
Okay.
I do that all the time. Okay. By the way, I'm looking at the Google Doodle here. I don't know why. And for some reason, I saw a Packard G, and I'm like, what do they know? Oh gosh, this has to stop. I'm seeing things, seeing ghosts.
Yeah.
Shout out Zach Wilson. I Love the 90s is 19 years old.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, when did I watch it? Yep, I remember watching an episode. I was at it was like a bachelor party weekend with one of my college friends in the summer of 2004.
Wait. Wait.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah. I know. I just blew right through that.
That's what you did at a bachelor party.
In
was watch
between other things.
I Love the 90s.
Well, it was in between the paintball setting, the dinner setting, and then the gentleman's club setting.
Oh, Lukey, you naughty guy.
I was there.
Yeah. Lucas.
Mm-hmm. But we also watched I Love the 90s, which was maybe the most memorable part of the whole day.
Wow.
You understand my proclivities here. So,
wow.
Yes, 90s nostalgia rises to the top there. But no, seriously, with like in between, someone turned that on, and I was probably one of the most straight-laced people in that group, mind you. I mean, if you knew the other ones, they're more like typical types. And somehow it was in just college friendships are interesting dynamics. And somehow I ended up with that. But we were watching I Love the 90s, and it was kind of funny. Like, I mean, hello.
That's a hell of a bachelor party to watch I Love the 90s and go to a gentleman's club right after that.
Oh, no, this is like at 3 p.m.
Well, I'm not all in one day, though.
No, I mean, we had a packed day.
Apparently.
Yeah. I mean, you're shooting at people, drinking beer. Not really me, but the others drinking beer, going to gentleman's club, and 90s nostalgia. Let me tell you, There was a lot going on that day.
I'm envisioning this right now, and it's spectacular. This is awesome right now. Wow.
Yeah. Thankfully, the person for whom the party was being held is still married.
Okay.
It would have been like, really, if they got no, they're still happily married, and et cetera, et cetera.
All right.
So yeah, I love the 90s. That's a long way of saying I love the 90s is older than the 90s were when they did the documentary I Love the 90s. It's been around that long.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
We need a break because I need to regroup now.
You sure do.
Yeah. All right. We got to do a quick version because we're running a little behind here. So 85 versus 94 coming up in the second round matchup of our showdown after these quick words. How about that? Breaking news right away. You ready, Lucas?
Am I? This better not be about Cuba and the World Baseball Classic.
The Packers have created additional cap space by restructuring Devondre Campbell's contract. $2.62 million. There you go. Got everybody's heart racing.
What does it mean?
That's what Field Yates, he's the one who tweeted, said, I have no idea what will happen with Aaron Rodgers, but I do know that they created $2.628 million in cap space by restructuring Devondre Campbell's contract.
I like that he also threw in the Lions renegotiation in there because I think there's about a 60% chance that he's like, this way that Lions news is going to get a lot more attention just by putting it in the Packers tweet.
Mm-hmm. You know it. You know it.
Today is a crazy bleeping day.
You know, I will say this, Luke. Maybe this is an Elon Musk thing or not, but I will say with the whole free agency thing, I haven't seen a whole lot of fake accounts.
That's true, actually.
You know,
the thing is, the bots aren't gone. As much as that was a thing, and I was glad that he was going after them. Oh my gosh, the bots are very much a player in certain aspects of Twitter right now. But you're right. I haven't seen that. Like, I've been doing the whole Fakey and Rappaport stuff like that. No, no, it's so far, it's been fairly clean.
All right. Sorry, Steve, but he just texted in saying I gave him a heart attack. So
I shouldn't laugh.
I'm having a little fun with it.
Someone
I'm
might actually
sorry.
die today because of stress.
Yeah.
I really hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Hayden Hurst to the Panthers.
Oh, so yeah, I just saw that too here.
Um,
Why is the Green Bay doing it? Okay, I'm not going to go down there. Somebody invited me to go muskie fishing with them. I don't know who you are, but sure, why not? Okay.
Is it a bot or a real person?
No, this was a text, so I don't know who they are, but
tell us your name.
or I should say a message. Yeah.
Yeah, please tell us who you are.
Maybe I don't want to know.
You know.
All right, let's do showdown. I'm not gonna do the intro because we should just jump into it here.
So are we doing like abbreviated versions? Or are we doing the full breakdown again? What?
Just we'll do the three things, but kind of make it quick.
Okay.
Through this thing because we did do these some a little bit earlier, some were a little bit sooner, or you know what I mean.
Right.
So, basketball. I think the big one is the NCAA championship, Villanova or Georgetown.
Yes.
That's the big one there.
Pretty good NBA finals, but that was the big thing in basketball. Baseball was the I-80 series, Royals and Cardinals, which is a very good one, even with the Don Deckinger thing. Still, it was a very good World Series. Football, it started with Montana over Marino, and what was the first of many Marino appearances in the Super Bowl. Everyone thought back then. Well, that's why they played the games.
Yep. And then the regular season for the Bears that year.
Yeah. And again, Wisconsin sports, like the 85, 86 Bucks went on to the conference finals, but the Brewers were meh. The Badgers were meh. Packers were meh.
Yeah.
It's just not a lot to write home about.
Tennis, Martina Navratilova had a good year. A couple championships there. So
94 had, much better Packer team. Yep. They lost to the Cowboys, as they often did in the playoffs at the beginning of the year, and had a pretty good 94 season, which would lead to another loss to the Cowboys. Super Bowl at the beginning was the Cowboys beating the Bills.
Rinse and repeats.
Baseball, heck of a season, and then
strike. Yeah.
Rangers
what could have been
Yeah.
when the Montreal Expos were the league leading team up to that strike?
I still, great as they were, would they have won it? I mean, there's
probably
still
not, but it's a nice what if.
Yeah, I know.
They should print T-shirts like, when the Badgers won the tournament in the COVID shortened simulated one.
It would actually be kind of like, okay.
Montreal Expos, we led the league in wins before the strike, 1994.
How would we react, baseball world, with, how Rob Manfred screws up everything he does? He could even contradict himself on something. He would still screw it up, even if it is the exact opposite. But how would we react if Rob Manfred came out and said, Major League Baseball we're not going to acknowledge the Expos as champions and give them the trophy, but find out some verbiage to, in effect, acknowledge the Expos as the best team of 1994. How would we react to that? Would we say, yep, Manfred sucks? Or would we say, well, kind of acknowledging a really good team that didn't get a chance because of money?
Because it's the Expos, people would be okay with it.
I think so. Like if it were the Yankees, which interesting.
Oh, yeah, the Yankees.
Which I think, correct me if I'm wrong, and I can just look up the stats right now. I think the Yankees were the second best team because I think if the season had ended, if the season ended, which it did, if they just went ahead and played the World Series, it would have been Expos Yankees.
If it would have been the Yankees, no, nobody would want it. But since it's the Expos, and that'd be okay.
But you know who would get a little extra credit because of that? Donnie Baseball. Remember Don Mattingly? Yeah. Some of the worst. Mattingly and Murphy, they both left the Yankees and Braves right before they went on their runs. So anyway, 94.
Rockets beat the Knicks.
The O.J. Chase.
Yeah, so I remember watching that. So I was watching the finals at my grandma's, and that came on. I remember that clear as day.
94 was the renaissance year for Wisconsin basketball. Remember the Badgers made the tournament for like the first time in ever. Marquette made the tournament. I remember watching it at Memorial in like biology class. And we're like,
do they still do that in school, by the way?
I have no idea.
I would love it. Any teachers in like high school, do you still turn your TVs on for the kids to watch hoops?
They're probably at school right now, but
not some of them. I know one's listening because he's commenting. So
okay, yeah,
he's not teaching. He's listening to us on YouTube.
Thank you. Thank you for watching us during the day. school day. No, I wonder because then it's one of those big TVs in the cart. Remember, Mr. Bickle brought it into biology class.
We had the big tubes mounted up in the corners on in some rooms.
Yeah.
Remember Channel 1 News?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's.
Is it still going?
I think in some way.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember that was like the thing that always made it into schools. It was started in '89. It ended in '18.
Okay.
So no, it's gone.
Anyways,
but yeah, so all of that happening that year.
You had Arkansas winning the national championship that year, by the way.
Right. Hockey, the Rangers win the Stanley Cup.
Is that when Marc Messier?
Yes.
And Wayne Gretzky?
The guarantee, and it worked out. I think 94 advances on sports.
Yeah, and then some, just really quick, some dude became the youngest man ever to win the U.S. Amateur in golf at the age of 18.
Of course, there's a Tiger mention.
Don't you know it's talking about Tiger?
Yeah. I mean, it's true. I mean, that was a stat. It's not like we're pulling out. He was the best 7-year-old to ever. No, but like this actually was legit.
I'll go with you. 94 sports too. So
85 musically. I mean, we lost Kurt Cobain that year, but that was the year Hootie and the Blowfish broke big, and Boyz II Men was dominant, and Ace of Base. That's any indication of where we were at. Green Day had their breakthrough that year. So I'm kind of doing more of a overall scene sort of thing. That was the Woodstock 2, the one where Green Day was they were having mud thrown at them and they were throwing mud back. It was kind of hilarious, actually. Not Woodstock 3, the infamous, hey, let's riot one. But 85, gosh, 85 was iconic. Live Aid. We Are the World. I mean, say what you will about We Are the World. It was huge. I can tell you that even as a 7-year-old, I knew 7-year-old at the time. It was massive. Madonna was humongous. Wham, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to say 85, though not as dramatically so as 94 winning for sports. So movies will tip this one.
So I was already kind of
decide on this. We'll streamline it. You make the call.
No, what I'm going to do is we're going to do this. I might put it to the listeners.
Oh, really?
Because the movies are really tight. 85, you've got Rocky IV. You've got Your Back to the Future.
Yes.
The Breakfast Club. The Goonies.
Yes.
Which has now become like out there again because of the Academy. You know, look who won in that.
Right.
If you want to go Commando, Weird Science, The Color Purple, Witness. Remember Harrison Ford?
Mm-hmm.
Rambo, First Blood, Part 2. Fletch.
Gosh.
I mean, St. Elmo's Fire.
Oh.
National Lampoon's European Vacation.
Yeah, you did say The Breakfast Club, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I did say it. Yep.
Okay.
Cocoon. Remember the creepy one there? Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. So you got Teen Wolf. Come on. Who doesn't love a little Michael J. Fox?
Oh.
Again, Teen Wolf and Back to the Future. So then 94, though, you have Shawshank Redemption, Pulp Fiction, True Lies, Forrest Gump, The Lion King, Interview with a Vampire, Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura, The Crow, Speed, Legends of the Fall, Little Rascals, The Client, Clerks. I might need a little help with this one. Wyatt Earp, if you're into that one.
And the funny thing is,
Airheads, again, weird timing-wise, Brendan Fraser.
I may have been when you between Airheads and True Lies, I might have been like, oh, okay, cool. After Sunday night,
yeah,
both movies take on more gravitas.
Yes, they do.
I mean, granted, Encino Man takes on a whole of all the movies. Who saw that coming?
Right.
Like now I gotta watch that.
Yep. So I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna have you got like 3 minutes. People vote 85 or 94 for movies.
I have a vote in this, but I want the listeners. I'm not gonna skew anyone on that.
Okay. So
this is extremely tough.
Yes.
Do you have a vote as well? And you want to hold yours too until the listeners say?
I'm gonna
because
hold it.
The power of our voices and opinions can single-handedly sway the Chippewa Valley, as we well know.
Yeah. I mean, obviously Rocky IV at the top is big for me, but it's my second favorite Rocky. So that's the other part in this.
Now there was no Rocky in 94.
No. Rocky V was 89 or 90.
Have you seen Creed 3?
I have not, but I know it set records.
And
I know the reviews are good, but I'm still a little bitter about it. So
yeah,
I'm sure it's great, but we'll see.
Okay,
I'll watch it eventually, but I'm not going to go out of my way to watch it.
Okay.
I gotta mentally prepare to have to take the kid to Super Mario Brothers and the new Ninja Turtles movie. I gotta mentally prepare for all that stuff. So that's kind of on my plate right now. But
How many sequels are you gonna have to watch?
of what?
Of all of them,
Oh,
because there are more
God.
coming. You know it. I'm not. I don't know anything. You just know more is coming.
Mm-hmm. All right, hit us up with a text 715-830-1912 9485. Who moves on to the next round? We're talking straight up with the movie selection on there. So I think I know where you're going, but I won't tease
You
it.
think you do, but
Okay, now I know because you just gave it away. So
yeah. Well, you think you do.
I think I do.
You think.
Okay. Is that a
But
hint?
do you?
Okay.
I'll reveal it at noon today.
Oh yeah.
Tune into my YouTube channel.
Yeah, that should work.
Yeah.
That'll work well.
Hey.
So, all right, we'll be back to close up shop in just a couple minutes. All right, few minutes left to the top here. So Lucas, what would your vote have been?
85.
Okay.
I think there's more that culturally lasted.
Okay.
Though I will say, if Schindler's List had been a 1994 movie, it came out at the very end of 93. If it had been a 94 movie, that single-handedly might have been enough to shift it over. Just because it's, and I still have never watched it, but I get it. I know it's so iconic.
I would have thought you would have picked 85 because of Back to the Future. That's your favorite movie, isn't it?
It's top 5, for sure.
Okay.
Right up there with like Ferris Bueller and Star Wars, the original. Really, I should actually say it's not necessarily the Star Wars movie; it's the original trilogy.
Okay.
I know that's kind of a cop out, but it kind of is like all three. But as you're going through the list, I'm thinking of all of those movies that, in some way, maybe not everyone, but they resonate to this day. Where I don't know if as much about the 94 ones. I think the 94 ones might actually be better, but just slightly less culturally relevant. And this goes back to what I was saying earlier about 80s culture, nostalgia, not going away with the usual cycle. Like it's somehow it's embedded in us that the 80s were like the peak of pop culture.
Well, I will tell you, it was close. And even right before the mics turned on, it was split. But buzzer beaters, and without counting my vote in this thing, 94 moves on.
Okay.
So
we can do
but
that.
It was close. It was incredibly close. So if it even matters, my vote would have been 94 too. So
okay.
But
that's a fair move on.
But I didn't count mine. It was really close. And like I said, it was right up until we turned the mics on. And I was checking the video stream and tweets and texts. It was split, but then we got a couple very last second that went 94.
I will also say, for a lot of these, maybe it's because we're a sports talk show, I'm putting a little bit more weight, like my vote, on sports. Like if a sports year is really like just meh, but then the pop culture is really good, the sports has to hold up. You can't have one of those like nothing happened kind of years that just feels awkward.
Right.
And 94 was the better year for sports, for sure.
We only got a couple minutes left here. I saw this from it was Jason Wilde and Mark Tauscher yesterday, and I thought this was an interesting question. Like when Aaron does talk here in a couple of hours now, I don't know how much he's actually going to say. You know what I mean? Like if it's the Jets, I don't know if he will go into great length of how they got to that point. You know, I don't know if that'll be discussed or not. But I thought there was a great question. I think it was Tauscher and Aaron and Jason Wilde that kind of posed this question. Like, do you think Aaron, because they both think that there's a little bit of regret with Aaron right now. Maybe regret on how things played out the last couple of years. The whole situation, now we're at this point. Do you think Aaron has a little bit of regret?
Probably so. And I think he's, from what I've observed of him, I think he's obviously intellectually nuanced and very thorough thinking that he probably does. Like he'd rather everything have worked out in Green Bay.
Yeah.
And
yeah, this was the tweet. Mark Tauscher and I think that Aaron deep down inside has regrets and doesn't really want to leave the Packers, and he turned it into a poll question. So where 55.2% said no, get him out of here. But
how much does Mark Tauscher, from what we know Aaron Rodgers?
See, was it yesterday? I was flipping through the stations, and he was actually on NFL radio, and they were interviewing him. Rich Gannon was. And I was able to catch a little bit of it. But he was making the case at that point in time, like, if I'm a Jets fan, I'm a little bit nervous, you know, like, what's really the big hang up in this whole thing, you know, sort of thing. But, you know, that might have been a couple days ago. I don't know. But I think they obviously know each other, but I don't think he's, like, in the inner circle. I don't think he's of the James Jones level or the A.J. Hawk level even or something like that. Yeah. So I don't think if Tauscher would text him, Aaron would give him the whole spiel, if you will.
Right.
So,
but he would know. But so at least he would know enough that he's not just going, well, I'll bet he regrets this.
Right.
He would actually have reason to think this.
And remember, he was with the transition.
Yes.
Favre to Rodgers, so.
It's been that long for Tauscher. Like, he doesn't seem that old.
Yeah, he got hurt the championship year.
Yeah. If he was...
And Mr. Iowa replaced him.
I don't know why, but Tausch seems like he's 30 right now. Maybe it's just because he's always looked kind of young for his age. He didn't really age out of it, but...
Yeah.
3 hours to go. Woo.
Here we go. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Get ready
why
for
not?
nothing, because nothing's... I don't know. Something's going to be said. Something's going to be
Something will happen today.
Something will. If it's anything of note, of course, we will talk about it tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day, people. DP and the Dance are up next. Talk to you soon.